Our story starts here where there was an ongoing race in the school. The girls were cheering from the side. Someone had reached the finish line. In just 2 minutes and 36.79 seconds, it was Jue Jing, the main protagonist of this story. The girls immediately erupted into fangirling. He looked calm as he poured water over himself, which only made things worse. The girls couldn't help but squeal even louder. One girl walked up and offered him a towel to wipe off his sweat. She looked unreasonably happy when he accepted it. While drying himself, he checked the system panel. He gained plus 20 running experience, and his running skill reached level 3 with 258 over 800 experience points. The experience gained was slightly higher than usual. Then he noticed something else. His charm had increased by plus 45. He frowned in disgust when he saw how quickly this useless skill leveled up. Suddenly, a ball was thrown at him. He blocked it with his palm. Someone had thrown it on purpose, though he had no idea why. Judging by the guy's expression, the reason was probably standing right behind him. Shui Jing's friend walked over and asked what happened. He also asked if Jing knew the guy. His friend was Li Gei, and he stiffened the moment he recognized him. It was the school tyrant, Pei Yu Guang. Li Gei immediately asked why Jing had to butt heads with him. He sighed and assumed it was because of a woman again. He told Jing to just accept one and save himself from drawing aggro from the entire school. But Jing had no interest in that. Li Gei pointed out that even if Jing didn't, the men around him clearly did. He also warned him that Yu Guang wasn't someone to mess with and asked what he planned to do. Jing answered that he would just work out. Li Gei nearly yelled that working out was useless and that Jing had to practice martial arts instead. It might be useless for others, but Jing was different. 1 month ago, he had inexplicably arrived in a world almost identical to Earth. Along with him came a translucent panel, and effort here actually paid off. His hard work was never wasted. As long as he practiced enough, he could activate the corresponding skills. He met the conditions and unlocked the skill, aiming, at level 1. Although daily training brought him huge benefits, the consumption was also massive, and when he opened the fridge, it was completely empty. He wasn't working this hard just to look cool. The place he lived in was called the 5th Metropolitan Circle. Since it was a circle, there was an inner area and an outer area. The farther out you went, the poorer and more desolate it became. The farther in, the more prosperous and noble. He still had half a year before graduation. He could either fight his way into the inner circle or stay poor for the rest of his life. It was time to make a choice. Jing went out to buy groceries, and the total bill came out to 210. It made him go pale, and he decided to take a few items out of his cart to stay within budget. He couldn't believe that 5 eggs cost 30. He muttered that this was just insane. While walking through a dark alley, something suddenly jumped out. It was a stray cat. It landed right in front of him like a professional scammer blocking the road. But then he noticed the scars. The cat was covered in injuries, as if it had recently lost a fight. Then the cat spoke, complaining that it never expected the world of stray cats to be this cruel. Jing froze, mostly because the cat had just spoken. He wondered what on earth was wrong with this cat. Then he noticed the rings on its tail. When he touched it, the system detected a divine substance. He absorbed the divinity. The planet he was on was called Earth Star, a world also known as Zhu Xia. 287 years ago, God died. On that day, all humans on Earth Star witnessed the spectacle with their own eyes. They rejoiced. When the gods died, humanity finally stood on its own, and Jing would grind his way up until he became a god himself. At Jing's residence, he gave the cat some cat food, but it refused to eat it. In fact, it looked at the bowl with clear disdain. Jing was annoyed. He couldn't believe this stray cat wouldn't even touch it. Then he remembered something important. This cat could talk. He realized it wasn't just a cat. He headed to the kitchen and started cooking. As he worked, he gained plus 20 cooking experience. He chopped vegetables and cooked everything over high heat. Soon, he placed a green pepper and shredded pork rice bowl in front of the cat. The moment the cat saw it, it started drooling. It ate happily. Jing wore a smug expression, satisfied that he had been right. He realized the reason it could speak human language was simple. It wasn't a cat at all. It was a human who had turned into a cat. And as for the reason, he suspected it had something to do with the rings on its tail. Suddenly, the system notified him that divinity absorption was complete. The divine skill, Twin Life, was inactive, but required divinity for activation. 525 over 50. He had met the conditions, and the system asked if he wanted to activate it. There was no need to think twice. He clicked yes. The screen glowed brightly before notifying him that the skill Twin Life had been successfully activated. Jing frowned, unsure what it actually did. The passive effect of Twin Life granted him 2 lives. After death, he could choose a resurrection time within 7 days. The cooldown was 3 months. He stared at the panel in disbelief. This was basically resurrection armor. If the passive effect was already this powerful, then the active skill had to be ridiculous. Unfortunately, the active skill was still locked. It required divinity to unlock, and he was only at 25 out of 500. Jing glanced at the cat and briefly considered draining the rest of its divinity. But when he looked closer, he noticed how badly injured it was. That made him hesitate. Continuing to drain it now would be downright inhumane. So he decided to find another way. Still, he couldn't just let the cat go. He planned to head out first and search for clues related to divinity, and see what the cat would do while he was gone. The cat was left alone at home, with a camera watching it, in the outer ring. For people in the outer ring to enter the inner ring, the difficulty was absurdly high. Even if they managed to get in, they had to pay an exorbitant fee, often enough to bankrupt a small, wealthy family. Even so, countless people still rushed toward it, but what most people didn't know was that there was another way. If one could become a martial artist, all problems would be solved. While Jing was walking through a dark alley, a man holding a metal bat appeared in front of him. Jing calmly asked if there was a problem. The bald man turned to the blonde one and asked if this was the person their big brother Yu Guang had his eye on. They warned Jing that he was dead meat. Jing could only sigh. In the blink of an eye, the bald man collapsed. Everyone froze. They didn't even see Jing move. The blonde man was struck next. Then the third man was hit squarely on the forehead. Jing hadn't even stepped forward. He was just throwing pebbles. Combined with his skill, aiming. The men groaned in pain as they finally realized that Jing wasn't as harmless as he looked, but one of them still charged at him. Jing's eyes activated. When the man swung his punch, Jing dodged just in time. It was a good thing he did, because the punch smashed the ground where he had been standing. That wasn't brute force. That was martial arts. The man grew irritated that this brat was so agile. Jing, on the other hand, felt relieved. If Yu Guang knew martial arts, that saved him the trouble of looking for someone to ask. He stepped forward and told the man to explain everything he knew. Otherwise, Jing wouldn't show mercy. The next thing we knew was that Yu Guang was slammed onto the ground. He trembled as he promised to submit everything he knew. Jing grinned. He had thought this guy was tough, but after all that build-up, it turned out he only had one move. Yu Guang kept throwing punches. Jing quickly realized that after all this time, that really was his only move. Still, thanks to him, Jing met the conditions and activated the skill, fighting. Aiming didn't just sharpen his dynamic vision, it also improved the accuracy of his punches. Dealing with a martial artist at Yu Guang's level was more than enough. Before long, Yu Guang was begging him to stop hitting him. Jing asked what kind of move that punch was. Yu Guang nervously explained that it wasn't a move at all, but inner force. It was the act of gathering energy from the entire body and releasing it outward through a technique. Jing asked how to train it. Yu Guang admitted that he had only learned the basics and couldn't explain it clearly. Jing grabbed his collar and called him pathetic. He brought up the rumors about Yu Guang, how he smoked, drank, permed his hair, committed arson, murder, and even breakdanced. It made Jing doubt how someone that ruthless could submit so easily. Yu Guang hurriedly explained that those were all rumors. He needed them to build an image. If they were true, there was no way he'd still be in school. Jing slapped him and warned that if Yu Guang forgot today's lesson, he would beat him up every time they met in the future. He added that since Yu Guang liked bullying classmates, he was to write a self-criticism when he got back. Then he had to recite it 10 times in front of the class during morning reading tomorrow. One of his lackeys was to record it so Jing could check later. Yu Guang's face was swollen, tears dripping down as he swore he would obey everything Jing said. When Jing moved again, Yu Guang thought another beating was coming and screamed at him not to hit him anymore. But Jing only reached down and took his phone. He pulled up the dojo's address. Since Yu Guang couldn't explain inner force properly, Jing decided he would go there himself and ask. That night, at the city inner ring, Jing followed the map exactly. The system told him to turn right in 120 meters. The system notified him that he had experienced a battle. He gained plus 109 fitness points and plus 50 aiming experience. He felt refreshed, earning plus 33 health preservation. He also met the conditions to unlock the fighting skill. On top of that, he gained plus 68 battle experience. His stats updated. Fitness reached level 2 with 431 over 500 points. Health preservation reached level 1 with 269 over 300 points. Cooking was level 2 with 279 over 500 points. Running hit level 3 with 502 over 800 points. Charm stood at level 2 with 398 over 500 points. Aiming reached level 1 with 208 over 300 points. And fighting unlocked at level 1 with 68 over 300 points. Normally, grinding hard at the gym for an hour only raised fitness by around 200 points. This single, not-so-tough fight gave him far more than regular exercise, and even unlocked a new skill. He quickly realized something important. If he wanted to grow fast, he'd need to pick fights more often. Soon, he arrived at the Golden Wind Dojo. At first glance, the dojo looked surprisingly nice. He stepped inside and said he was there to visit. The staff immediately shushed him. The master was teaching a class. He turned to look. The master was instructing 5 students. He explained that the breathing method was the foundation of martial arts. By controlling breathing, one could activate the force within the body. Only when qi fully circulated could someone be considered truly initiated. Jing's eyes lit up. This introductory cultivation method was exactly what he had been looking for. He leaned closer and whispered to the staff, asking if he could join. She blushed when he got close. She clearly found him handsome. She told him he could join, but warned him not to force himself. From that brief exchange, his charm gained plus 30 experience points. He thanked her and walked over to an empty cushion. He listened closely as the master spoke. The staff watched nervously, unsure if Jing could handle it since this was his first exposure to martial arts. They were instructed to inhale as deeply as possible and then hold their breath. The staff silently hoped at least one student would succeed. Otherwise, the master would blame her for wasting his time. When the master counted to 37, several students had already given up. Others' faces twisted as they struggled to hold on. She felt disappointed when even Kui Jingyuan, the one she had the most hope for, finally gave in. The master's expression darkened as he walked toward her. She hurriedly begged him for a few more days, promising she would find a suitable disciple. But to her shock, he walked straight past her. He told her to stay quiet. There was still a child holding on. He stopped in front of Jing. Only then did Jing realize the truth. The breathing method sounded simple, but it was brutally difficult. Massive amounts of oxygen surged into his lungs. Without strong lung capacity, one wouldn't even qualify to practice. Inside his body, true qi expanded nonstop, swelling as if it were about to burst. The time was up. Jing slowly exhaled. The system notified him that he had activated the skill Inner Force, now at 69 over 200. When he opened his eyes, the master and the staff were already crowded around him. They asked how he felt and whether he had any discomfort anywhere. He answered honestly. On the contrary, he felt refreshed. The staff asked for his name and then asked if he wanted to join the Golden Wind Dojo. Suddenly, the glass window shattered. Something burst inside. It was a large, flying insect, and it instantly devoured one of the students. Everyone froze in horror. No one could even understand what they were seeing. The master reacted first. He opened the door and shouted for everyone to leave immediately. He called for the staff member, Zhang, to help maintain order. Blood sprayed everywhere. The monster turned its attention to her next. Jing didn't hesitate. He rushed forward to save her. They crashed to the ground together. Pinned beneath him, she strangely felt relieved and a little happy. She even wanted to be pinned down by our boy forever. Jing's charm increased by plus 20 points. In that moment, he remembered what Yugang had once said. Inner force gathers energy from every part of the body, then releases it outward through a single move. This was the perfect chance to test it. So Jing did. The large beetle-like monster rushed straight at Jing. He punched it in the head. The impact released a violent wave of wind. Jing hoped this thing wasn't like a cockroach, able to withstand hundreds of times its own body weight. If it was, then brute force wouldn't work. He needed to concentrate all his strength into a single point. He adjusted instantly. The next strike crushed its outer shell. The system notified him that he had activated Inch Force, now at 80 over 200. The monster was blasted backward, hissing loudly. Its blood splattered across the room. Only then did Jing realize the truth. It looked terrifying, but it was far weaker than it appeared. Zhang stared at him in shock. The master, however, looked worried. Jing had only just grasped Qi force, yet he had released an enormous amount all at once. His body wouldn't be able to handle that kind of strain. The monster steadied itself and let out another furious hiss. Jing could tell. It still wanted to fight. He calmly declared that the outcome wouldn't change, no matter how many times it tried. Qi surged through his meridians and gathered in his arm. Pain followed immediately. His chest tightened and he suddenly coughed up blood. Something was wrong. The monster charged again. That was when Jing realized he had pushed himself too far. Alarm shot through him as he watched it close the distance. Then, unexpectedly, someone struck. In a single flash, the monster's body was cut clean in half. Jing froze in disbelief. A woman stepped forward and introduced herself. She was from the White Raven Squad, captain of Squad 838, codename Void Blade. Her team took control of the area and ordered all unrelated personnel to evacuate immediately. This was the first time Jing had ever heard of the White Raven Squad. To kill that cockroach-like monster in one strike meant only one thing. The people in this organization were terrifyingly strong. Voidblade glanced at Jing and quickly assessed him. He looked only 17 or 18, yet he had managed to injure the monster so badly, using nothing but his bare hands. On top of that, she found him very handsome. She began searching for a reason to recruit him. She walked over and handed him a note. On Sunday afternoon at 5 o'clock, she wanted him to go to the address written there. She promised she would tell him what he wanted to know. Jing accepted the paper. Written on it were the words, Ching Cheng Library, 7th floor. Outside the dojo, Zhang hurried over and asked Jing if he was okay. She fussed over him, insisting on taking him to her house. When she realized what she said, she changed it to the hospital for a checkup. He reassured her that he was fine. He thanked her for allowing him to visit the dojo. After that, he left. She called out, telling him to come back tomorrow. But the master quietly shook his head. He felt it was unlikely. For a child to display that level of strength upon first contact with the Qi, a small dojo like theirs simply couldn't hold someone like him. As Jing walked down the street, the system kept sending notifications. He gained plus 29 fitness experience, plus 89 health preservation experience, and plus 50 charm. He also earned plus 98 fighting experience, bringing fighting to 166 over 300. He met the conditions to activate Inch Force. Inch Force was simple in concept. Gather Qi into a single point, then accelerate it to maximum speed within the shortest distance. Used properly, even the toughest defense could be shattered. Jing wanted to experience it one more time. He tried activating it again. Instantly, nausea hit him. He remembered the master scolding him earlier for abusing Qi like that. Jing decided not to court death. He would rest properly and see how things went tomorrow. After learning about the White Raven Squad and that cockroach-like monster, he couldn't stop wondering how many secrets the world was hiding from him. In the end, he decided to visit the address on the weekend. When he reached home, he noticed a light coming from his window. He checked his phone and saw what the cat was doing. It was sitting in front of his computer. The moment Jing entered and spoke, the cat jumped in surprise. He asked why it was messing with his computer. Caught red-handed, the cat still tried to play dumb. That only annoyed Jing. Since the cat refused to explain, Jing decided to settle the score later, after he got some sleep. He lay down on his bed. The cat tilted its head, sensing something was wrong. It caught the smell of blood on him. Did he get into a fight? That thought instantly annoyed the cat. She had already claimed him. Who would dare bully what was hers? She jumped onto Jing's stomach and demanded to know what happened. She told him to speak up. No matter who it was, she, Ning Fengna, leader of the dragon sect, would seek justice for him. Jing calmly confirmed something first. So, it really could talk. He admitted that he had always known it was human, but he was exhausted. They could talk after he slept. And, just like that, he was out. Fengna yelled at him furious, telling him to at least explain before falling asleep. The next day, Jing's stamina had fully recovered. They chatted over a meal. Fengna learned that he hadn't been beaten by anyone. He had defeated a monster instead. Jing confirmed it with a nod. She frowned. She had never heard of monsters roaming freely into the city. Jing reached out and patted her head. He thanked her for worrying about him. She instantly blushed when he called her by name. Putting on a tough front, she told him he wasn't allowed to address her so casually. He had to call her respectfully. As the sect leader, she demanded he call her Lord Na-Air instead. Jing went along with it. Since she could speak, he finally brought up something else. He wanted an explanation for what she had been doing in the video on his computer. Her eyes widened. Cold sweat broke out as she froze in place. The thing on Fengna's tail was called a cattail ring, a type of god relic. She was looking up information about it. He reached out and touched her tail. She shrieked. 287 years ago, God died. It was said that the golden specks of light left behind were god relics. He had only heard stories about them before, but now he was seeing one with his own eyes. Now he finally understood how it could absorb divinity. She asked him how long he planned to keep pinching her tail. He felt a little embarrassed and pulled his hand back. He asked if she was searching for instructions on how to use it. She said she didn't want to use it. She wanted to take it off. She explained that the Dragon Sect was the largest gang in Qingcheng. They didn't just control entertainment venues, they also worked with martial arts halls to run drug businesses. Their growth had been too fast, and it attracted jealousy. She had been attacked inside her own villa. Someone put that thing on her, and she turned into a cat. By the time she barely managed to escape, the Dragon Sect had already fallen into someone else's hands. She could only return to her human form if the ring was removed. And she wanted those people dead. He asked what she planned to do next. He said that if the answer couldn't be found online, the library was probably a dead end too. She told him she already had a plan. That plan was for him to train in martial arts and become strong. He asked what that had to do with removing the ring. She explained that once he became strong, different organizations would come looking for him. And among them, there might be a god relic holder. By following those connections, they could eventually find a way to remove the cattail ring. He grinned when he heard that people would come knocking on his door. Because of that, she planned to introduce him to the best dojo. She asked if he had heard of Hidden Dragon Dojo. He said yes. Back when he wanted to learn martial arts, he had checked the tuition fees of every dojo in Qingcheng. Hidden Dragon Dojo was the most expensive of them all. But that wasn't what he remembered most. What he remembered was the overwhelming number of bad reviews. She scoffed and said those people were trash. They couldn't endure hardship, so of course they failed. She added that among true martial artists, no one looked down on Hidden Dragon Dojo. He asked how he could get in. She said the answer was simple. Follow the rules of the Jianghu. Storm the dojo. He stared at her in disbelief and asked if they would really accept him after he smashed the place up. She looked at him like he was hopeless and said dojo storming was just an interview. Disciples were divided into ranks, some paid to enter, but even if they trained seriously, it meant nothing without talent. Others had talent but lacked real strength. If it took 10 or 8 years just to become capable, that was useless, too. On the path of martial arts, mindset mattered most. Only someone with an invincible spirit could throw an invincible punch. Dojo storming was a way to recommend oneself, and the best way to prove that spirit. She told him to go tomorrow. She still had some things to take care of. The next day, a disciple welcomed Jing at the entrance of the Hidden Dragon Dojo. They shook hands, but the man suddenly tightened his grip. Jing felt the pressure and assumed it was a test. Since it was a test, he decided to take it seriously. He squeezed back with full force. The man yelped in pain and started whining that his hand was about to break. Other students quickly gathered around and burst out laughing. They told Jing not to take it personally. Apparently, that guy was a martial arts fanatic who tried to spar with everyone he met, and lost almost every time. The man's face turned red as his loud-mouthed classmates exposed him. Only then did Jing realize the guy was just a random passerby. At that moment, the crowd suddenly parted. The old dojo master was approaching, along with several direct disciples. The students were stunned. Even the old master had come out, along with direct disciples who rarely showed their faces. Some whispered nervously, wondering if something big had happened, or if the dojo was about to shut down. The old dojo master was Meng Boshang. He sat in a wheelchair with a black cat resting beside him. Pushing the wheelchair was a petite woman named Zhu Shanying. To his left stood a green-haired man, Chen Fuguang. To his right was a tall man named Li Qi. Behind them was a woman named Meng Qingjiao. Jing froze. Fengna was there. The dojo master raised his hand, and the chatter instantly died down. He looked at Jing and asked if he had come for a dojo storming. Fengna gave Jing a quick wink. Our MC glanced at her and commented that she wasn't bad. The old master chuckled. It had been a long time since anyone dared to storm his dojo. He asked Jing if he believed he was qualified. Jing answered honestly. If he was asked that way, he didn't really know. From what he could tell, the combat levels here didn't seem that high. Boshang decided to ask him a few questions. First was his name. Jing answered, then his age, 17. More questions followed. The longer it went on, the more nervous Jing became. The questions were starting to feel strange. So strange that it felt less like an interview and more like a marriage inquiry. The dojo master laughed and told him not to be nervous. It was only natural to ask these things when meeting a future son-in-law. Jing leaned closer to Fengna and whispered, asking what was going on. She whispered back that she had no idea either. Zhu Shangying spoke up and addressed the dojo master as grandfather. She said that, qualified or not, they still had to fight first. She looked at Jing and told him she would go easy on him. Jing nodded. He was ready. The disciples were stunned. Their little senior sister was actually stepping in herself. In their eyes, the kid was finished. Fengna puffed out her cheeks and complained that they were still fighting when it had already turned into a marriage interview. Shangying warned him to be careful. Fengna felt a spike of worry for him. A target marker appeared. Shangying threw a punch, but Jing dodged it cleanly. He immediately grabbed her wrist and flipped her onto the ground. The impact left her dizzy. Fu Guang narrowed his eyes and commented that Jing's dynamic vision and grappling position were very precise. He said Jing's movements reminded him of his own style when he was younger. Boshang laughed happily. He praised Fengna for finding such a good seedling for an old man like him. Fengna replied proudly that it was only natural, though deep down she had been nervous for Jing just moments ago. Jing turned to the dojo master and asked if his storming was considered successful. At the same time, the system notified him that he had experienced a battle where the weak defeated the strong. He gained plus 21 fighting experience, plus 121 fitness experience, plus 89 health preservation experience, plus 56 meow aim experience, plus 139 sports experience, and plus 50 charm. The dojo master declared that since Jing had defeated Shangying without any formal martial arts training, he was unquestionably qualified to become a direct disciple. He added that it was about time to change how Jing addressed them. Jing smiled. He greeted his master and his senior brothers and sisters. Fu Guang welcomed him as their 7th junior. Shangying looked embarrassed. She introduced herself properly and said she had underestimated him. She warned him not to get arrogant just because he won once. That was when Jing learned she had been the youngest direct disciple before he arrived. He thanked her for the guidance, and she responded with a scoff. A woman walked over and addressed him as Young Master Shui, offering to guide him through the procedures. Jing was confused and asked why he was being called that. Boshang explained that a direct disciple should never be looked down upon. From that day on, Jing was nominally an inner ring resident, so calling him Young Master was only proper. Jing asked if they could change the title. It made him uncomfortable. She suggested calling him Master Jing instead. Jing sighed and agreed. At the lounge, Jing sat on the sofa while Fengna rested comfortably on his lap. He told her that dojo storming wasn't as difficult as she made it sound. After all, Shangying went down in a single move. Fengna shook her head and said he was wrong. Shangying was actually much stronger than him. Martial arts wasn't about comparing numbers alone. Mood, condition, intelligence, decision-making, and even luck could all decide victory or defeat. Jing thought it over and realized that Shangying had underestimated her opponent. Fengna agreed. If that girl had been even a little cautious and waited for Jing to make the first move, the outcome would have been very different. But a win was still a win, and there was nothing more to argue. Jing admitted that luck played a big role and that he needed much more practice. He then asked where she went the night before. He wondered if she stayed at the dojo overnight. Fengna replied that to squeeze someone in, she had to go say hello to Grandpa Li. Jing asked why she called him that. She casually explained that Grandpa Li almost cuckolded her grandfather back in the day. Jing froze. So, he was basically a male mistress. A staff member soon handed Jing an identity authentication card and told him that starting tomorrow, he could enter by swiping it at the access control. Jing thanked her. The system notified him that he gained plus 20 charm. The next day, word spread the kid had trained through the entire night. They were talking about Jing. All were shocked by how strong he was. He gained plus 234 XP, plus 133 health preservation, plus 79 sports XP, and plus 89 inner force XP. His inner force upgraded to level 2. He also received a large amount of favorability, increasing his charm by plus 35. Boshang trained him without mercy. Jing was forced into a squat, while the old master told him to hold on a little longer. His inner force experience increased by plus 99. Just a bit more, Boshang urged, telling him not to waste the effort he had put in all night. The system notifications kept coming, plus 99 inner force XP again and again. The system congratulated him. His inner force had upgraded to level 3. The moment it ended, Jing collapsed to the ground, landing hard on his butt. He was drained. Boshang sighed in amazement and said that among the disciples he had accepted in his lifetime, Jing was the strongest. Before long, he would be able to cultivate the Hidden Dragon sect's cultivation method. Jing lay on the floor, breathing heavily. The moment he heard that, he forced himself upright and asked what level he needed to reach to learn it. Boshang stared at him, realizing this kid was a true martial arts fanatic. Boshang told him to hold out his hand. Jing assumed they were about to spar again. Instead, Boshang released a powerful aura. His eyes turned red. Jing felt a massive surge of true ki pour into his body. He had no idea what it was doing, and no way to resist it. Boshang asked what kind of sports Jing usually did. Jing replied that he mostly just ran and didn't do much else. Jing nervously asked if there was something wrong with his body. Boshang shook his head and said there was nothing wrong at all. In fact, Jing's body was terrifyingly perfect. Every muscle, every bone, every organ was balanced, as if molded by a god with obsessive tendencies. In simple terms, he was a martial arts prodigy. Jing knew the truth. It was all thanks to the panel. After activating the fighting skill, his body had transformed into this state. In a way, he really did count as a genius. He asked again if he could start learning the cultivation method. Boshang frowned and asked why he was in such a rush. He pointed out that Jing had trained all night, and his body was covered in injuries. Cultivating right now would be no different from courting death. Jing asked what he should do instead. Boshang told him to head to the lounge first. He would have someone send over the sleeping dragon ointment shortly. That night, someone knocked on Jing's door. It was Shan Ying. She had come to treat his injuries. Jing froze. He couldn't help but wonder why it was her, and whether she was here for revenge. Shan Ying told him to take off his shirt. Jing did as told. When she saw his upper body, her eyes lit up slightly. He was more built than she expected, and the reaction made him feel a little flattered. She told him to lie down. The system notified him of plus 45 charm. She ordered him to behave, lie still, and not move. She began applying the medicine to his body. Jing told her to wait. He honestly couldn't tell what she was trying to do. The way she moved made it feel like she was deliberately teasing him. She leaned in close as she spread the ointment across his chest. While she was on it, she revealed that she was actually competitive. His face heated up, but he noticed that despite everything, his self-control was still holding. While she's on top of him, she asked why he wasn't saying anything. Jing replied calmly that it was fine as long as she was happy. After a moment, she admitted that losing to him had been her own carelessness. Even so, she had felt unwilling and decided to use this chance to tease him a little in return. The system notified another plus 45 charm. She said she hoped he wouldn't be angry with her. Jing's charm kept increasing, but his expression looked stiff. He explained that he wasn't angry. He was just in some pain, and it wasn't a big deal. She said the upper body was done and suggested that he take off his pants next. When she reached for them, Jing quickly grabbed her hand and told her he would do it himself. She giggled, saying she had only been messing with him. Seeing him panic like that was amusing. She handed him the ointment and said she'd leave the rest to him. Then, she turned around and left. He performed a session of hibernating dragon technique stance training and earned plus 98 fitness experience. Several identical system windows popped up one after another. Jing walked down the street afterward, his whole body aching. He muttered that it was terrifying. He almost felt dismantled by that woman. The system notified him of a level up. His fighting level rose to level 3, and his inner force increased to level 4. Jing beamed at the sight of it. With nothing else scheduled, he decided to head to the library for the appointment. As he walked, he muttered that the name White Raven Squad sounded extremely Chunabu. In reality, it was just Qing Cheng's special police organization. Still, he couldn't understand why they wanted to meet in a library. At the Qing Cheng Library. Jing arrived on the 7th floor. To his surprise, it was completely empty. For a moment, he wondered if he was being messed with. Then someone greeted him. He turned around. A tall woman with long blonde hair stepped into view. She introduced herself as Wu Yu Qing, the Yu from Childish Yuji, and the Qing from Sunny Day Qing Tian. Jing asked where Voidblade was and why she had chosen the library as their meeting place. She explained that she was Voidblade's informant. Since this was a private meeting, they couldn't use the special police station. She admitted that she had been skeptical at first, but after seeing him in person, she approved. She told him to join them. Jing asked on what grounds. She said calmly that she knew he was interested in god relics. He froze. His reaction alone was enough to confirm it. She smiled slightly and asked how he had learned about the concept of god relics. He didn't want to answer her question. Instead, he became curious about the woman herself and what kind of background she had. She said it didn't matter if he didn't want to talk. It was her fault for not explaining things first. She poured him a cup of tea. He took a sip. It was just plain water. She then poured the remaining water back into the pot. After that, she poured him another cup. She told him to taste it again. Jing was confused. It still looked like ordinary water, and he couldn't figure out what she was trying to prove. He drank it and froze. The water was sweet. She calmly explained that 287 years ago, God died. Or more precisely, a deity died. When that deity perished, countless points of light scattered across the world. They called those fragments God's blood. God's blood fell into objects, living beings, and even things born from human imagination. Anything infused with God's blood became what they now called a relic. The item in front of him was one of them. Serial number, God-1567, Sweetwater Kettle. Jing leaned closer, wanting to inspect it properly. A part of him suspected she might have just added sugar beforehand. She handed the kettle to him. The system immediately detected a divine substance. His divinity began increasing by +5 repeatedly. His total divinity climbed to 502 over 500. He confirmed it instantly. He could absorb divinity simply by touching God relics. His active skill was now fully recorded. Jing was stunned. He asked what the kettle's actual function was. Did it make water sweet without sugar? Could it boil water out of thin air? As he spoke, his divinity continued to rise, because he was still holding it. His guess was close enough. She giggled, thinking that he clearly hadn't seen much of the world yet, and somehow that made him even cuter. Jing noticed that the water level didn't seem to drop. He wondered if the kettle was infinite. She was impressed that he actually used his brain. He kept receiving notifications of divinity, increasing by +5 points. He stopped counting once he realized he could finally activate the skill. As an outstanding student of Chingcheng-affiliated high school, she expected him to understand what that meant. He thought it over and looked at the Sweetwater Kettle again. A perpetual motion machine, something capable of overturning the basic laws of the universe. He even wondered if the endless electricity in the inner ring was connected to relics like this. She told him not to overthink it. The very nature of a god relic was unreasonable. It was something no man-made object could ever copy. He asked her why she had taken the initiative to tell him all this. It was because 3 days ago, he had defeated a monster with the body of an ordinary person. Even when facing such a terrifying and unknown creature, he showed no fear at all. She handed him her card. It read, Wu's God Relic Containment and Research Company, Limited. The CEO, herself. The company was also the designated equipment supplier for the White Raven Squad. On a spiritual level, he had already surpassed most people. That was why she hoped he would join Wu's God Relic Containment Company. And since our boy would have the chance to absorb divinity, he was genuinely excited about joining her team. He promised to obey every command. To him, a God Relic Containment Company wasn't just a job. It was a god-tier workplace he absolutely had to enter. And as for me, I really like it when our protagonists are smart like this. God Relic Containment Company sounded like a place where he'd be surrounded by god relics all day. Just thinking about it made him excited. Rich and powerful? That was a solid combo. Right now, the only source of divinity came from god relics. Just the passive skill Twin Life was already this broken. If the active skill turned out to be even more unreasonable, then no one in the world would be able to beat him. The thought made him laugh out loud. Yu King could tell he was deep in his own little fantasy. She took a document out of her bag. She handed him the contract and told him to look it over. If there were no issues, he could sign it. He read through it and found that it looked like a standard labor contract, except for one extra part, a confidentiality agreement. There was also a clause stating that the job involved a dangerous special field related to god relics, meaning serious risks. If he became disabled or died during work, the company would pay his family $5 million to cover medical fees, funeral costs, and other expenses. But there was a condition. If the accident happened because of intentional actions or gross negligence on his part, there would be no compensation. That alone told him this was not a safe job. She explained that god relics were divided into 4 grades: D, harmless level; C, danger level; B, high danger level; and A, the highest danger level. In the future, only if he showed enough growth would he be involved in truly dangerous work. He wanted to ask more about A-grade relics, but she stopped him. He didn't need to think about that yet. A relic of that level wasn't something one person, or even one company, could handle. When that happened, official government agencies would step in. He asked her why she chose him. Even if he had contacted a god relic before, that alone didn't mean he was qualified. And as far as he knew, she didn't know about his panel, nor that he practiced martial arts. He couldn't believe she would invite him just based on Void Blade's one-sided recommendation. Something felt off. She pointed out that he was wrong about one thing. It wasn't that he contacted a god relic, it was that the god relic contacted him. He asked what she meant. God relics seemed to possess a certain degree of will. They would actively approach people they were drawn to. And among humans, there was a special type who could attract God relics on their own. She was one of them. And she knew that Jing happened to share the same constitution as her. To show her sincerity, she offered him that level of salary. The contract stated that he would receive a monthly salary of 200,000. After successfully containing a God relic, he would get a 25% project share, along with 1% stackable equity. Jing realized how valuable he actually was. Now it made sense why they were in such a rush to recruit him. He said the salary didn't matter much. He mainly just liked God relics. Then he signed the contract. He handed the document back to her and told her to take good care of him from now on. She smiled and said she was happy to cooperate. He told her that if there was nothing else, he would leave now. She said goodbye to him. Between the Hidden Dragon Dojo and collecting relics, his schedule was about to explode. He was worried he wouldn't have time to attend school anytime soon. He sent a message to Ji, asking him to help inform the teacher that he was taking a leave due to being bedridden. Ji replied that he could leave it to him. After all, with a monthly salary of 200,000, he wouldn't earn that much even 10 years after graduating. His top priority now was simple: get stronger. Only by becoming stronger would he have a chance to go back. He decided to check his active skill first. While walking through the outer ring, he summoned his system panel. The divinity required to upgrade Twin Life Level 1 showed 502/100. Its passive effect granted him 2 lives. After death, he could freely choose a resurrection time within 7 days, with a cooldown of 3 months. The active skill was no longer locked. The unlock requirement was 502/500, which he had already met. The system asked if he wanted to activate Twin Life, and he chose yes. Now, for every level, he could designate one ability related to his physical body. When activated, that ability would produce a double effect. The available options were memory, physical defense, physical strength, reaction speed, movement speed, calculation ability, and concentration. In short, if he chose physical strength, he would gain double strength while Twin Life was active. He already had resurrection armor, so doubling defense felt pointless. His body was already tough, and his main attack style relied on aiming rather than brute force. Then a saying crossed his mind. In the world of martial arts, speed decides the winner. He chose speed. He needed a proper comparison first, or he wouldn't know how strong the skill really was. From where he stood to the street lamp ahead, the distance was about 100 meters. He decided to run once, without the skill and time himself. He started running. The result was 10.24 seconds. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible either. He decided to activate the skill and run back to see if there was any difference. He returned to the starting point and ran again. This time, he was so fast that only a trail of light remained behind him. His time was 5.12 seconds, exactly twice as fast. Now he understood. Twin Life wasn't just a gimmick. It had real substance. For an ordinary person, improving a 100-meter sprint from 20 seconds to 12 seconds was manageable with hard training. But beyond that point, every 0.1 second improvement required 100 or even 1,000 times more effort. Without extreme talent and massive resources, it was nearly impossible. Hypothetically, in a high-intensity hand-to-hand fight where even the smallest mistake meant death, activating the skill would create acceleration that completely defied logic and intuition. That would be a guaranteed kill. He was very satisfied with Twin Life. It ignored physical laws and natural limits, making it a truly divine skill that broke the rules. While his body was still warm, he wanted to test it a few more times. But to his surprise, the skill had already entered cooldown. From activation to now, only 20 seconds had passed. He realized he would need to use this ability very carefully in the future. He also had no idea when it would recover. With that, he decided to head home. After training all day, his entire body ached. When he arrived home, he planned to take a bath first, then enjoy a long, peaceful sleep. Tomorrow, he would still need to go to the dojo. His vision suddenly turned dark. The next day, he was lying outside near the staircase when his phone rang and woke him up. He realized he had been asleep for 6 hours. He had no idea why he ended up sleeping in the hallway. The first thing he did was check Twin Life's recovery. His eyes lit up when he saw it was almost fully refreshed. Based on that, he quickly figured it out. Every 1 second of Twin Life usage required 1,000 seconds of cooldown recovery. If he used it to the limit, it would take around 6 hours to recover completely. Just then, a message popped up from Shan Ying asking why he still hadn't come to train. Only then did it hit him. He was late. He rushed off immediately. Eventually, he arrived at the Hidden Dragon Dojo. He burst the door open. Shanying was helping a student stretch into a split when she saw him. She immediately rushed over and said he arrived just in time. She grabbed his hand and pulled him to the center, announcing that they would spar to demonstrate the proper use of Jin force. The students started whispering among themselves, placing bets on who would win. One guy was confident it would be Shanying. In his mind, she had only lost last time because she was careless. Jing had just started learning martial arts. There was no way he could win again. A few even hoped she would go easy on him and not break him. Jing knew that even though she called it a demonstration, she was really trying to reclaim the reputation she lost last time, and this time she wouldn't be careless. But that didn't bother him. For him, this was the perfect chance to test his own ability. After briefly asking for her guidance, he activated Twin Life Level 1. She was about to strike him with her palm, but he vanished in an instant. The next second, he grabbed her arm and slammed her to the ground. The impact left her dizzy. She couldn't understand how she still lost when she had clearly used her full strength. He calmly declared that she had handed him the win. He gained plus 97 fighting experience. He also gained plus 81 fitness experience and plus 49 health preservation experience. On top of that, his aiming experience increased by plus 26, his sports experience increased by plus 69, and sports upgraded to level 2, 9 out of 500. Only then did he realize something important. This was no longer considered a weak defeating the strong. After activating Twin Life Speed, the system no longer judged him as weaker than Shanying. Shanying had rich combat experience and was fully on guard, and yet she still couldn't react in time. That made him realize just how terrifying his power had become. From now on, his training would focus on fully mastering the speed difference. Moments later, Fu Guang waved at him and asked if he wanted to practice the hibernating dragon technique together. He accepted his 5th senior brother's invitation. Later on, Fu Guang was in complete disbelief. He had thought the rumor about Jing practicing the hibernating dragon technique for one night was just bragging. But now, he could clearly see it. Jing had almost cultivated dragon ki. When Fu Guang first practiced the technique, he could only last half an hour. The comparison felt ridiculous. Still, he explained something important. In the martial arts world, there was a legendary ultimate physical state called the treasure body. It meant refining one's physical body into a true treasure. In that state, the body would reach 5 kinds of perfection: muscles holding dragons and elephants, iron tree coiling tendons, skin blooming glazed glass, indestructible jade bones, and blood dripping molten gold. Muscles holding dragons and elephants meant muscles so powerful they seemed to house water dragons within them. Iron tree coiling tendons referred to tendons as tough and rooted as an iron tree. Skin blooming glazed glass meant skin that was flawless and leak-proof like polished glass. Indestructible jade bones meant bones refined into immortal jade that could not be broken. And blood-dripping molten gold referred to a state where, when qi was activated, the blood boiled like volcanic magma. Fu Guang admitted that it was only a myth. No one had ever truly achieved it. Deep down, Jing felt differently. Just because others couldn't do it didn't mean it was impossible for him. The thought sparked something inside him. He wanted to become a martial arts myth himself. Suddenly, someone burst in through the window. Fu Guang was completely spooked by what his eldest senior brother had just done. Glass shards scattered everywhere. Fu Guang quickly introduced Jing to the man. He explained that this was the dojo's strongest eldest senior brother, Boshang. He also had plenty of quirks. The system informed Jing that Qi didn't like talking, was a muscle maniac, feared trouble, believed force was supreme, was obsessively protective of his wife, and hated using the front door. Fu Guang added that Boshang preferred entering by breaking windows. When Jing looked at the shattered window, his eyes widened. He couldn't believe that Boshang had jumped from the ground all the way to the highest floor. Jing couldn't help but wonder how much strength that required. Fu Guang asked their eldest senior brother if he'd come looking for him. Qi merely waved his hand, and Fu Guang instantly understood. Fu Guang told Jing that he had some matters to take care of and would be leaving first. Before going, he reminded him of one crucial thing. The essence of the hibernating dragon technique was force delivery and shaping. Then he left by jumping straight out the window. Only then did Jing realize something. Lately, he had been focused only on increasing the quantity of qi, never once thinking about shaping it. With a new idea forming, he began trying to combine it with his aiming ability. 3 hours later, he took a deep breath in. He continued meditating until his veins bulged from the strain. Then, he flicked his finger. The force exploded outward, sending a shockwave through the air. He realized it was far more impressive than launching roadside pebbles. Someone arrived, clapping slowly. It was the dojo master. He hadn't expected that. On top of Jing's outstanding physical talent, he also possessed such remarkable talent in sports. He handed Jing a pill and told him to eat it. Jing accepted it, and without hesitation, placed it in his mouth. The dojo master then told him to look at him. Jing felt something strange. It was as if he were floating into nothingness. He couldn't tell where he was anymore or what the master had done to him. The pill began to glow. It transformed into a golden dragon, and Jing was instantly alarmed. The dragon slowly opened its eyes. Golden light reflected in Jing's own eyes. Then he saw it. Golden scales began forming on his right arm. Jing had a headache. It felt as if the ki around his body was scurrying in all directions. He wondered if it was because of the pill. He took a deep breath, trying to calm the ki first. He activated the hibernating dragon technique and held his breath. Deep within his consciousness, a wonderful feeling surfaced. At the same time, all his distracting thoughts appeared. The dragon stood right in front of him. He focused on cultivation, and the dragon's body slowly wrapped around him. Soon, golden light flooded everything as he fused with the dragon. His body transformed, covered in dragon scales. His eyes also changed, becoming like a dragon's. He met the conditions and activated the skill Visualization. Visualization Level 1. 0. Over 300. Eventually, he opened his eyes. He was shocked to find himself back in his real physical body. The master explained that if he hadn't returned in time, his ki would have been completely exhausted. The master said it was incredible that Jing managed to cultivate dragon ki on his very first try. He was genuinely impressed. Jing then asked what dragon ki actually was. The master explained that dragon ki was a type of emotion. When someone was angry, they could strike with extra force. When fighting for survival, their body could feel filled with endless energy. In the hidden dragon style, stimulating emotions was called ki of motion, while controlling emotions was called ki of stillness. If one could combine motion and stillness, success would follow in any endeavor. Jing asked how he should train it. The master smiled, saying Jing had already grasped the essence, but he still told him to think it through on his own. Jing asked if it referred to a state free from distractions. He tried it. Suddenly, he was able to recall everything he had seen and learned in his past life. He even saw a math problem from his college entrance exam. He hadn't studied since then, yet it now felt unbelievably simple. Other pieces of knowledge surfaced as well. Only then did he realize something. He had become smarter. The master replied calmly that this was only a small part of it. Jing noticed that ordinary things could no longer stir his emotions. At the same time, his imagination had grown much stronger. He could now clearly picture a giant dragon in his mind. Even a single mane, strand of hair, or golden scale appeared vivid and sharp. He suddenly had an aha moment. This had to be the true essence of visualization. The master pointed out that talking was useless. Only practice could bring real understanding. Then he told Qingjiao to spar with Jing. She was still eating bread, her face covered in crumbs. The master explained that Qingjiao's control over motion was the strongest among all the disciples. Even her father, Qi, couldn't compare to her. Jing grew curious. Who was stronger, her or the sixth senior sister? Qingjiao stepped into a combat stance. Jing attacked. But before he could even act, he was struck. He froze in disbelief. The master laughed, pointing out that Jing's intentions were far too obvious. Jing couldn't believe she was stronger than his golden finger. He charged again, this time fully determined to win no matter what it took. He kept getting hit. Whether methods were despicable or vicious, didn't matter. In martial arts, the one standing wins and the one lying down loses. She kicked him hard, blasting him away. Blood dripped from his mouth, yet he still wanted to continue. So they kept going. The sun dipped toward the horizon, but Jing refused to stop. This time he managed to evade her punch. And finally, he landed a blow on her chest. The impact forced her backward. Jing was stunned by the strange sensation left behind on his hand. The master quickly caught Qingjiao, stopping her from crashing into the wall. He announced that training for the day was over. Since Qingjiao was clearly already hungry, continuing the spar would be pointless. He told her to go rest first. Jing asked why the fourth senior sister never spoke. The master explained that something had happened to her when she was young, but he said he would explain it in detail another time. The master then asked how Jing felt and whether the training had been effective. Jing answered honestly. He said he was exhausted. The system notified him that his fitness was at 827 over 2,000, health preservation at 468 over 800, and running at 699 out of 2,000. He added that he had never been this tired in his entire life, but at the same time, he had never felt this happy either. His charm was 66 over 1,200, aiming 567 over 800, fighting 520 over 800, sports 217 over 1,200, and visualization 251 over 300. He realized just how terrifying the fourth senior sister was. Sparring with her for more than 4 hours had boosted his experience by an insane amount. From now on, he planned to cling to her shamelessly. After that, he went back home. He brought Fengna some fried chicken. But she wasn't there. It was already late, which made him wonder where she had gone. Just then, he heard strange noises coming from the bathroom. Jing was puzzled. Fengna hadn't brought any guests back. There was only one pair of shoes at the door. He wondered if she was inside. A bad thought crossed his mind. What if someone had locked her in the bathroom? He remembered her mentioning that she had enemies. That made him anxious. So he rushed into the bathroom, only to find her calmly taking a bath. She panicked and splashed water everywhere. He quickly stopped her and said that if they kept wasting time, the fried chicken was going to get cold. Her eyes instantly lit up. In the end, they decided to bathe together. She sat on his lap while he helped scrub her fur. Between the fried chicken and his help, her mind was completely scattered. The system detected a surge of favorability toward Jing. He gained plus 89 charm. The cattail ring began to glow. She placed a paw on his chest. Jing squinted as the light grew brighter. Slowly, he opened his eyes. The paw had turned into a hand. He froze. Because Fengna had turned human. She still had cat ears and a tail, but the rest of her was clearly human. She panicked, jumped up, and yelled at him not to look, her tail wrapped around his eyes. He told her to calm down. She asked if he was telling the truth. He said he wasn't lying, and told her to get up first so they could talk properly. Suddenly, she felt a strange jolt run through her body. He asked what was wrong. She quickly said it was nothing. Blushing, she asked why she had turned back at a time like this. Jing guessed that they might have accidentally triggered the god relic's transformation. That caught her attention. Then she realized something. Just moments ago, she had generated a tiny bit of charm toward him. Jing asked if a small spark of that feeling, plus fried chicken, was enough to turn her human again. The trigger condition sounded completely ridiculous. She also noticed the cat ears, sharp canine teeth, and tail were still there. That only made her more annoyed at the useless junk left behind by that so-called god. She warned Jing not to misunderstand anything. This was clearly an accident. She stopped mid-sentence. She felt something change. She noticed the reaction in his body. Jing sighed and explained that it was an involuntary reaction, not something he could control, but if she didn't move away soon, he really might lose it. She told him she would move her tail away, but he had to keep his eyes closed. He agreed. As she carefully backed up, she slipped and fell. The sudden movement brought them too close, and their sensitive areas touched. Her face turned red like a tomato. The sensation was overwhelming for her. Jing clenched his teeth, holding on to every bit of self-control he had. He told her to move slowly, because if she kept struggling like that, it would be extremely hard for him to endure. She cried and insisted that she didn't do it on purpose. He knew that. He told her to hurry up and get out while he could still control himself, otherwise she wouldn't be able to leave. That completely scared her. She dashed toward the door and slammed it shut behind her. Jing finally relaxed. Only then did he dare open his eyes. An hour later, he stepped out of the shower and saw that she had already turned back into a cat. She didn't understand why. After calming down, she had simply reverted on her own. Now, she couldn't turn into a human again, no matter what she tried. The situation baffled her. He sat beside her and reached out to pet her, but she dodged away. He understood her reaction, especially after what had just happened. He told her that he had recently met someone knowledgeable about god relics. Tomorrow, he would go ask about her specific situation. Maybe there was a way to help her turn human again. She began imagining what she would do if she transformed one more time. She would torture him. The thought made her laugh evilly. Jing could only sigh. The next day. Because Jing slept early and woke up early, his health preservation increased by plus 38 and upgraded to level 3, 3 over 800. Fengna was curled up beside him. Seeing her sleep so peacefully, he couldn't help but smile. He got up when his phone vibrated with a message. It was from Yu King. She told him to come quickly. There was work to do. Jing felt relieved. At last, he had work again, at Qingcheng Library. Jing searched for Wu Yuqing. She told him to come quickly, but she wasn't there. He didn't see anyone else, except a girl wearing glasses. Then he noticed something. The girl with the glasses was Yuqing. Her looks changed a bit. Then she removed her glasses. That's when her appearance came back to normal, but it was like they were enhanced. She said his consciousness intensity was quite high. She didn't expect him to find her so fast. He also noticed how alluring she looked. Noticing that, she cleared her throat. Jing, feeling embarrassed, quickly looked away. She told him the glasses were a god relic. God 1280, unremarkable glasses. They lower a person's presence, making them hard to notice. He asked if that was all they could do. When he touched them, the system detected divine substance and he absorbed divinity. Not only that, once the glasses are removed, the suppressed presence erupts at once. The longer someone wears them, the more dazzling they become when they take them off. He felt relieved. He hadn't suddenly turned into an old pervert. It was just the glasses. He asked her about the job. She said she wanted to show him something first. The mission was special, a C-rank containment mission that normally wouldn't be assigned to him. But this god relic, God 11,105, Villainess's Crown of Glory, could continuously amplify the wearer's primal desires. The current wearer was a woman named Lu Huying. Once she saw a handsome man, she couldn't stop herself from wanting to possess him. He realized the glasses were prepared just for him. She said his foundation was already solid. As long as he wore the glasses in advance, the moment he took them off, he would completely detonate Lu Huying's desire. At that point, removing the Villainess's Crown of Glory and restoring her to normal would be easy. The mission would belong to him. His face twisted in disgust when he realized they wanted him to use a honey trap. Still, he admitted the job suited him well. He could drain 2 god relics in one go, and do it safely. The glasses suited him too. He imagined wearing them for 10 years, then taking them off. He pictured himself looking ridiculously cool. He asked if she personally owned the glasses. She said no. She borrowed them from another containment company. He was surprised there were other containment companies. She froze, realizing she wasn't supposed to mention that. He thought their company was the only one in the country, mysterious and high class. She told him he misunderstood. God relic containment companies were special, but if she had to describe them, they were no different from street sweepers. He told her that comparison sounded a bit tragic. She explained that there were thousands of known god relics. They could appear anywhere, at any time. One company couldn't possibly handle them all. On top of that, the job was extremely dangerous. He asked if they worked with other containment companies. She said no. The state outsourced containment work to them. Some companies would do anything for money. If he ran into people from other companies, she warned him to be careful. He said he understood. He told her he wanted to test the effect. She asked what he meant. He took off the glasses. Her heart skipped and her cheeks flushed. The system notified him that he gained plus 19 charm. The effect was confirmed. Very effective. While on the ride. He read through the documents. They were about Lu Huying. Her activity zone was mostly in the Southern District, a place packed with bars, discos, host clubs, and KTVs. It was a classic underworld big sister hunting ground. According to her profile, Lu Huying had already carved out territory using the physical buffs from the Villainess's Crown of Glory. She even formed a small gang called the Rose Gang. Every day she preyed on the locals, draining countless men of their vitality. At the same time, the Villainess's Crown of Glory kept amplifying her desire. The stronger her desire became, the greater the boost to her physical abilities. If no one stopped it, the crown would continue stacking effects without limit. As long as he removed the Villainess's Crown of Glory, she could be restored to normal. The problem was figuring out how to do it cleanly. Moments later, at the Southern District, the driver told the passengers to exit from the rear door. As Jing stepped out, he continued absorbing divinity, 79%. On the same street, a man was being beaten with a bat. The attacker laughed, saying the feeling of doing whatever he wanted was just too good. That woman agreed. She said she loved doing whatever she pleased, and if anyone dared to control her, she'd beat them up. Jing saw her and thought the old woman was way too chunabu. Then it hit him. This was Lu Huying. An old man told Lu to take care. She asked who said she was leaving. Then she asked where his 2 sons were, since she hadn't seen them today. The man joked that if she wanted a man, he could call one for her. With a sly grin, she said she wanted both. Jing hid in a corner. The moment he realized she was an old hag, he decided he'd rather die than try to seduce her. Some rowdy men showed up. One of them said that with Brother Duan stepping in this time, the crazy woman Lu was as good as dead. Jing saw they were here for revenge. He chose to stay hidden and watch for now. The Razor Gang leader, Duan Kai-ping, shouted at Lu. He said he'd heard she'd been very arrogant lately. Lu Huying, the Rose Gang leader, asked who he was. One of the beaten men told her it was Duan Kai-ping from the Razor Gang. They blamed Kai Ping for beating them up. She looked him over and said his body was pretty good. She asked if he wanted to play with her. That set him off. He threw a punch, but she dodged it easily. He demanded she return his territory. She kept slipping past his fists. Jing learned that this had once been Razor Gang territory until Lu's Rose Gang took it. That was how the feud started. To him, this was clearly a gang war. The Razor Gang members rushed in, mocking her for only knowing how to dodge. The Rose Gang jumped in as well. Then one of them was struck in the head by a brick. Lu froze when she saw what happened to her little Bao. The man she'd spoken to earlier was the boy's father, and he panicked when he saw his son hurt. That ruined her mood completely. Kai Ping smiled. She was finally serious. He unleashed his real skill. This time his attack landed. She slammed into the wall. Instead of backing down, her eyes lit up. Now she really wanted to trade blows with him. They charged at each other, and the scene exploded into pure chaos. Jing realized this thug named Kai Ping wasn't simple. He flattened his palm into a blade. His hand turned sharp, slicing iron like mud. Even so, Huiying only suffered a shallow scratch. In terms of pure martial skill, Kai Ping was far stronger than her. But she was absurdly tanky. No matter how he struck, he couldn't really hurt her. She managed to land a hit with her bat, and it made him cough up blood. Jing received a notification. Divinity absorption was complete. Movement speed was activated. He could choose between physical strength, physical defense, reaction speed, calculation ability, concentration, and memory. He had chosen speed last time, so this time he paired it with strength. He was curious how strong he'd become after the upgrade. He picked his target and flicked a pebble. It flew like a bullet. When it struck Kai Ping's leg, bone shattered on impact. Jing could tell immediately. This wasn't a small increase at all. Lu looked around, trying to find who attacked. She shouted for him to come out at once. Kai Ping, on the other hand, was furious. He thought she had launched a sneak attack. He decided to retreat. Before leaving, his men warned her that they would come back for revenge. She admitted that those hits actually hurt quite a bit. Jing stepped out of hiding. She asked if he was the one who did it. Jing admitted it was him. She then asked if he had brought a gun. He replied, "Sort of," and assured her he wouldn't use it on her. He could tell at a glance that she had no real fighting method. Anyone could see she had never undergone proper training. So he decided to face her head-on, without ruining his looks. If things went badly, he planned to take off his glasses midway to control her instead. She laughed and said the only place he could deal with her was in bed. Jing closed his eyes and focused. The aura he released startled her. For the first time, she felt that he might actually be very strong. She asked who he was. He answered calmly that his name was Set. Jing activated Twin Life. He moved in a blur. He kicked Lu straight in the torso and slammed her into the ground. The impact shattered the surface beneath her. She barely had time to react before she saw his fist closing in. It struck her face head-on. He followed up with a flurry of punches, each one landing squarely on her face. The final blow sent her crashing deep into the wall. The impact was so heavy that even Jing felt his fist tremble. The noise drew a crowd. People whispered, wondering if a movie was being filmed. Even the wall had collapsed, and some worried Lu had been crushed underneath it. Everyone started to wonder who Jing really was. She stood back up. She was furious at the kid. The crown on her head released, an ominous aura. She told him he had truly pissed her off. Jing, on the other hand, was enjoying the fight. She swore she would smash him into meat paste. She swung her bat, but he slipped past it. He drove his knee into her face. Blood spilled from her nose. But there's this creepy smile on her face even after taking that hit. It's because she grabbed his arm and told him he wouldn't be able to run away now. Then, she froze in shock when he calmly placed a finger on her forehead. Our ultra super duper Giga Chad MC activated his aim and flicked her forehead. The force was ridiculous. She dropped her bat, clutched her face, and screamed that her eyes hurt. Jing remembered his master's words. Despicable or malicious, it didn't matter. As long as you win, any move is valid. Only the one left standing has the right to speak. And not just men. Women had weaknesses, too. Between the thighs. He kicked her there. She groaned and collapsed in pain. While she was crouched down, Jing clasped his hands together and raised them overhead. Then he brought them down with full force on her head, knocking the crown clean off. The impact caved the ground in, and she slammed face first into it. The crown rolled away across the rubble. The Rose Gang members saw everything. Their legs trembled so badly they could barely stand. Jing picked up the villainess's crown of glory. The system detected divine substance and immediately began extracting divinity as he snapped a photo of it. He reported to Yuking that it had been successfully contained. He glanced at Lu and hoped she wouldn't suffocate face down like that. As for punishment, for all the evil she committed after wearing the villainess's crown of glory. He decided to leave that to the people she had oppressed during those days. He noticed the absorption speed had increased. He was about to check what changed on the screen when a man in a suit called out to him. Our MC turned his attention towards the voice. The man demanded that Jing hand over the item in his hand, saying he wasn't qualified to touch it. The divinity absorption had already reached 71 over 100. This was a critical moment. Jing couldn't allow any interruption, so he asked calmly what the man would do if he refused. The man released a terrifying aura and asked if Jing was looking for death. As the man stared at him, system panels popped up. Body level estimation, 1.7 to 1.9. Body mutation rate, less than 1%. Traces of martial arts cultivation detected, no obvious body part specialization. Combat mode, unable to calculate. Comprehensive danger level, 2.1 to 2.5. The man estimated Jing was only 16 or 17, likely living somewhere like the Outer Ring countryside, yet his level had already crossed 2. Even so, still too weak. While approaching Jing, he told him that he would give him one last chance, but then Jing aimed a kick straight at his crotch. He cursed him as a despicable martial artist who relied on dirty tricks every day, so he stayed on guard. But to his surprise, Jing suddenly fled, shouting that he was a pervert, since no normal person guarded against that move. He yelled at him to stop running because he was going to kill him. Jing wondered if this man was a containment agent from another company. Something about his body felt wrong. It was stiff, like mechanical parts bolted together. The man rushed forward to grab him. He almost caught Jing, but Jing twisted, slipped free, and kept running. The man clicked his tongue in annoyance. Jing knew he couldn't afford to stay involved with this guy any longer. The divinity absorption was already at 81 over 100. Then he was suddenly punched straight through a wall. He barely blocked it with his arm, but the impact still blasted him through several more walls. He realized that no matter how far he ran, this man would eventually catch him. The system notified him that divinity extraction was complete. The skill Shadow Flame was inactive, and the required divinity for activation was 539 over 500. All conditions were met. The system asked if he wanted to activate it. He pressed yes. The man demanded that Jing hand over that thing, promising he'd only break one hand and one foot, and would spare his dog's life. He froze when Jing suddenly clamped a hand over his mouth. At that moment, he realized Jing was a recipient. Jing wondered if the man was talking about him. The man answered that there was no one else. He noticed the black flame surrounding Jing and the strange aura. That was when he realized he was facing a recipient. Jing had activated Shadow Flame, level 1. The divinity required for an upgrade was 39 over 100. Its effect was simple, turning shadows into tangible shadow flames. The divine avatar remained locked, requiring 2,000 divinity and level 10. He only had 39. Jing noticed that the moment the man saw the black flame, he immediately linked him to the word recipient. Jing didn't understand why, or what a recipient even was. He saw the man trying to flee, but he couldn't let him escape. He hurled black flames at him. The man screamed at him to stay away. Jing still didn't fully understand what was happening. He only moved with intent, and the shadow flames surged forward. It felt like an automatic attack system, similar to floating cannons. The man cursed loudly as the flames rained down on him. Jing stared coldly at him. The flames slipped into the man's nostrils. Jing was startled when the man began screaming in pain from multiple parts of his body. He watched carefully. The man burned, and the sight made Jing vomit. The system notified him that the weak had defeated the strong, rewarding him with plus 452 fighting experience. The notification appeared again, plus 633 fighting experience. Fitness experience increased by plus 422 and plus 558. Fitness was upgraded to level 6 at 28 over 3,000. Health preservation upgraded to level 4 at 25 over 1,200. Aiming upgraded to level 4 at 102 over 1,200. Fighting upgraded to level 4 at 805 over 1,200, and sports upgraded to level 5 at 127 over 2,000. He inspected the body. With parts of the clothes burned away, he saw metal underneath. Only then did he realize the man's entire body was covered in artificial skin. Its durability was extremely high. After burning for so long, it barely showed damage. If he hadn't destroyed him from the inside just now, killing him would have been far more difficult. In comparison, although the stone looked hard, it was reduced to that state after only a short time. Jing realized that the damage dealt by the black flame seemed to be linked to the target's density. Even so, there were no signs of carbonization on the stone's surface, and it felt cold to the touch. That meant the black flame didn't actually possess the properties of real fire. Suddenly, the black flame covering his body was extinguished. He checked the system, which explained that the black flame was converted from shadows. Now that the surrounding shadows had decreased, the shadow flame had weakened as well. He quickly understood. The larger the area of shadows around him, the more shadow flame he could convert, and the stronger it became. He dispersed his shadow. Jing found it amusing that he was able to use the skill this way without even receiving a prompt. He also had no idea how the cooldown was calculated. For now, he decided not to dwell on it. As for the burned man, he planned to explain everything to Yu Qing first. In the southern district, a man was staring at a large lump of flesh. He gently caressed it, then spoke to Ping Ping, asking if it knew why he had summoned it. It was Kai Ping. He had lost a hand and was wrapped in bandages. Kneeling on the floor, he replied that he knew, because his master had repeatedly warned him not to cause trouble, yet he still did. He was startled when the man in front of him suddenly vanished. In the next instant, the man was gripping his head. The man was furious, questioning why Kai Ping caused trouble even when he knew better. He asked if Kai Ping had grown tired of living. Kai Ping immediately begged his master for forgiveness. The man ordered him to rise. Then he asked whether there was any news about the two they had sent out earlier. Kai Ping replied that they had been destroyed. The man asked if White Raven was responsible. Kai Ping reported that one of them had been injured by a child. That answer irritated the man, which terrified Kai Ping even more. He hurried to explain that the child was Shui Jing, just an ordinary person. The man erupted in anger, demanding how an ordinary person could possibly defeat them. Even if the test subjects were imperfect, they were still not something that ordinary people could defile. He ordered Kai Ping to capture the boy. He would personally feed him to the Great Sky Lodging insect mother. That way she would give birth to more and better children, and one day he would conquer the planet. Jing went to Qingcheng Library. He had caused a huge disaster during the mission, and he had no idea how Yu Qing would handle it. He decided not to dwell on it. Soldiers block enemies, earth blocks water. At worst, he would make amends through future merits. The elevator stopped on the 7th floor. The moment the doors opened, Yu Qing was already bowing. She apologized, saying she hadn't expected things to spiral out of control. Leaving him to face danger alone, she admitted, was a serious dereliction of duty on her part. Jing was completely caught off guard. Yu Qing said she would upgrade the mission to a C+ rank and provide additional compensation. She hoped he could accept it. Jing agreed without hesitation, though inwardly, he was confused. Her reaction was nothing like what he had imagined. As they walked toward the seats, she told him that the identity of the man he killed had been confirmed. The man was Zhu Yingkun, a C-class containment specialist affiliated with Shu's containment company. She had already contacted them, and they claimed it was his personal action and had nothing to do with the company. Jing found that explanation suspicious. Yingkun was a man. Jing couldn't understand why he would need the villainous crown of glory. She took out a map. She said this was exactly what bothered her as well. Shu's containment company was located in the inner ring. Sending someone all the way to the outer ring for a mission made no sense. On the surface, there were no flaws in their statement. Still, she believed there was more to the incident. She told Jing to leave it to her for now and advised him not to get too deeply involved. He understood. He almost forgot to hand over the villainess's crown of glory. He also asked whether she wanted the glasses returned. She told him to keep them. He might still need them for the next mission. Then she said that, compared to everything they had discussed, the strangest part was Ying Kun's autopsy report. Every internal organ in his body had vanished without a trace. She asked if Jing had done it. Shadow Flame was far too dangerous. Even though he didn't fully understand its principles, he decided it was better to keep its secret. He took off his glasses and, with a calm smile, said he couldn't tell her. Her face instantly reddened, and her heartbeat sped up. She quickly replied that if he didn't want to say, then he didn't have to. Everyone had secrets, and she respected that. Then she told him to put his glasses back on. Instead, he stored them away. It was just an artifact, after all. Then he asked what she had given him. She explained that it was a containment card. With it, carrying out containment missions in the future would be far more convenient. Jing felt a surge of relief when he realized this meant he was officially recognized. She confirmed it. When she snapped her fingers, hidden doors along the floor slowly opened. She told him that, aside from the privileges of official personnel, all the data stored in the library would now be completely accessible to him. She still had work to handle, so she told him to go inside and look around on his own. He waved goodbye and told her to take care. The first thing on his mind was finding clues about the cattail ring. He walked into the aisles. As he looked around, it felt like stepping into a world of its own. All the data was categorized by relic. He spotted God 018, Death Goddess's unreasonable favor. He hadn't seen it before, so it caught his interest. He tapped his card. Access denied. Insufficient permission. He tried another one. God 069, Cinderella Boy. The number was far back enough that he expected it to be accessible, but the result was the same. Denied. He tried several more relics. Still no permission. He kept circling the area until exhaustion set in. Nothing worked, despite Yu King saying everything here was completely open to him. A sense of frustration crept in. If this was the case, then the cattail ring might also be restricted. Even so, he decided to keep looking. Eventually, he saw it. God 1391, cattail ring. He silently prayed. When he tapped the card, the data opened. He almost sighed in relief. The relic's danger level was listed as B, which did not match the level of C-class containment personnel Sui Jing. Because of that, only the first 2 layers of data were available to him. He had always thought the relic merely turned people into harmless kittens, yet it was ranked alongside god relics capable of destroying entire streets. He pulled out a chair and sat down to read. The record stated that after wearing the ring for 1 month, the holder could freely switch between human and cat forms. He liked that. It sounded incredibly convenient. Another entry caught his attention. In a certain year, a doctor had let out a fanatical shout after seeing the cattail ring and went on to establish the alien god cult. That piqued his curiosity, so he searched for information on the alien god cult. After God died, the earth cracked open and major borderlands emerged from the fissures. As people explored these fissures more deeply, they discovered tools that could communicate with alien gods. Groups driven by their desire for power gathered and prayed to alien gods for blessings. These groups became known as alien god cults. Those who received gifts from alien gods were called recipients. Now he finally understood what recipients meant. He flipped the page. 200 years ago, an alien god cult known as the Lion Sage Sect attempted to make contact with the god Bastet. The god never responded. Not until a believer obtained God 1391 and transformed into a cat, finally receiving the goddess's blessing. But the blessing did not go to the believer. It went to the relic itself. From that moment on, the cattail ring gained even more mysterious power. As the fusion progressed, the wearer would gradually begin to possess Bastet's power, until they eventually transformed into the true Bastet. His blood ran cold. The Lion Sage sect would stop at nothing to retrieve the cattail ring, which meant only one thing. They would kill Fengna. Now he finally understood why Fengna had strongly urged him to go to the dojo back then. He could already picture what would have happened if he failed to grow stronger in such a short time. He was afraid that both of them would have died. He flipped the page and began reading about the fusion conditions of God 1391, the cattail ring. The first fusion required intense emotional stimulation. After that, the wearer had to repeatedly stimulate the same emotion to deepen the fusion progress. When he read those words, the incident from last time came back to him clearly. He shook his head hard, trying to force the memories away. They had become far too vivid. A grim look settled on his face as he realized they might have to repeat the same thing often if she wanted to turn human again. He had no idea how he was supposed to explain this to her. He continued reading and noticed more details in the book. God 1391, the cattail ring had no side effects. The god relic only granted divine authority and nothing else. The only real danger was the Lion Saint sect. That part scared him for a moment, but knowing there were no side effects still felt like good news. He turned to the next page, hoping to learn what kind of power Bastet possessed and how the ring could be removed once worn. To his surprise, there were no answers to these key questions. The authority level of a C-class containment personnel was simply too low to access that information. Suddenly, his phone rang. It was a notification from the bank. He had received 231,511.31 Jusia currency, bringing his total balance to 235,212.25 yuan. At first, he thought it was his wages. Then he realized it was the compensation given by Yu King, and he hadn't expected it to be that much. Now he wouldn't need to carefully calculate what to eat every day anymore. With this, he could spend more time training and becoming even stronger. He planned to buy some expensive ingredients and cook a proper meal for Fengna, and when the time felt right, he planned to tell her the condition for turning back into a human. 5 days later, expensive dishes filled the table, and Fengna was having the time of her life eating them. She asked why he had been so extravagant lately. Then she asked if he had managed to earn some money. He answered that he used to be rich, which only confused her more. He explained that over the past few days, he had learned a technique from the master called the tremor armor technique. The technique itself wasn't the problem. The problem was the cultivation process. He had to take medicine during training, and after each session, he needed a medicinal bath. One set alone cost 40,000. Now, his bank balance has dropped to 8,011.03. He had practiced 5 sets in total over the past few days. He never expected 200,000 to vanish that fast. After doing the math, she said there should still be over 30,000 left, so she asked why there was barely anything remaining. He pointed at the food on the table. That made her feel a little embarrassed. She admitted that his filial behavior toward her was worth praising, but she still warned him to be more careful with money. Aside from the potions he mentioned, he would need to buy weapons and hidden weapons in the future. On top of that, proper formal wear was required to enter and leave high-end venues. Any single outfit started at over 100,000. He thought that price was insane. She told him that buying lobster or other luxury ingredients once a month was more than enough. Only then did he realize how many ways there were to spend money. Payday was still far away, and Yu King might not arrange work for him anytime soon. If he didn't find a way to earn money, he was afraid he'd be drinking the northwest wind again. So he started looking for jobs. He messaged Fu Guang and asked if there was anywhere short on people, since money had been tight lately. He said he was fine with being a bodyguard, carrier, or porter. Fu Guang replied that he had asked the right person. He told him to meet at the Hidden Dragon Dojo tomorrow afternoon to test whether he was qualified. After that, he noticed Fengna was still busy eating. She had cleared most of the plates. He shouted at her to leave some for him. The next day, at the Hidden Dragon Dojo, our MC was cultivating. During his training, he unlocked a new skill called Soft Force. Fu Guang watched from the side and nodded in approval. In just 5 days, Jing had already trained the tremor armor technique to this level. That kind of progress meant potential. A student walked over and asked Jing if he could demonstrate a move since they were conducting a strength test. Before Jing could answer, Fu Guang spoke for him and agreed. He leaned closer and whispered that this was a perfect chance to test the results of his training and to let everyone broaden their horizons. Jing thought about it for a moment, then decided to give it a try. A student named Wen Zhaorong, whose punch force measured 201.3 kilograms, spoke up. He said Jing hadn't been at the dojo long and might not be strong in raw power, so he shouldn't force himself. Another student, Yi Yingyu, with a punch force of 212.2 kilograms, agreed and warned Jing not to blame them if he broke his hand later. The woman who had invited Jing, Ning Meng, whose punch force reached 232 kilograms, told them to stop talking nonsense. She said their little junior brother was incredibly impressive. Jing stepped forward and punched the punching bag without any visible force. It looked like nothing more than a light tap. Ning Meng frowned, worried that he wasn't charging up properly. Zhaorong struggled to hold back his laughter. It was so quiet that everyone thought Jing hadn't used his full strength. They mocked him, saying he was afraid of embarrassing himself and was deliberately holding back. But right after those words left his mouth, the punching bag exploded. The display on the scale flashed. 9,999. Everyone froze. The stuffing from the punching bag scattered all over the floor. Jing calmly said that it was soft force. He explained that strength wasn't better, just because it was stronger. What he used was an advanced application of Jin force. First, he condensed all the power into a single point, sent it into the target's body, and then let it explode from the inside. He hoped everyone could try to comprehend it themselves. Meng stared at him in awe and thanked him for teaching them. Yingyu, on the other hand, clicked his tongue in annoyance. Jing told Yingyu to go to the warehouse and fetch a punch pad to install on the testing machine. Yingyu had no choice but to comply, which made Meng giggle. Fu Guang then told Jing that with his current skill, there was nothing to worry about. Recently, a big shot had been looking for a bodyguard. The job was a bit complicated, but he asked Jing if he wanted to try. Jing accepted the document Fu Guang handed him. Inside was a photo of the location and the details. The address was East District, Jinhai Street, number 617, Riju Hotel. The reward was 800,000 wen. Jing's eyes lit up when he saw the number. He told Fu Guang that he was at Ruiju Hotel. Jing stepped out of the car. He was wearing a black traditional Chinese top paired with black pants. The moment he entered the lobby, he drew a lot of attention. People quietly wondered who he was. Judging by his clothes, they could tell he was a martial artist. He didn't look like a second-generation rich kid attending the banquet. The most likely guess was that he had been hired for security, but he looked far too young. Jing overheard their whispers and realized his senior sisters were right. clothes really did make the man. He remembered how Shan Ying had asked if he planned to go out wearing a black shirt and a hoodie. He had asked what was wrong with that, since it was comfortable. She told him that clothes make the man. If he dressed too cheaply, people would naturally look down on him. Still, she said it didn't matter, because she had already prepared clothes for him. Then she pulled out a red suit from a famous designer. He immediately said it was too flashy. He argued that he wasn't going on a blind date. Just then, someone tapped him on the shoulder. It was Qingjiao, holding a set of black clothes. Shan Ying instantly argued with her, saying she was too cunning and claiming that she had been first. Jing silently concluded that senior sister Meng was still a cut above the rest. Some women nearby noticed him and found him handsome. One of them even suggested asking for his number. A man wearing a red beanie asked if Jing was a high-level disciple of the Hidden Dragon Dojo. The man in the white suit beside him replied that he didn't recognize the kid. The man in red then said that the dojo must have accepted a new disciple. The man in the white suit added that the Dragon King, Li Qi, had once said he wanted to accept 7 disciples, but the 7th had to be a true prodigy with exceptional root, bone, and talent. Otherwise, he would rather not accept anyone at all. He glanced at Jing and commented that the kid looked more like a pretty boy. He wondered how strong he could really be and said there was no way Jing could be Li Qi's disciple. The man in red pointed out something else. Jing's lower body was extremely stable. Every step he took was the exact same distance, no more, no less. His upper body didn't sway at all. His body control was terrifying, and his force delivery had clearly reached a very high level. The man in the white suit didn't care. Even if Jing could produce 10 times the effect with 1 point of force, he said, facing 100 people at once would still mean losing. That annoyed the man in red. He said there was no point arguing with a meathead like him. At that moment, the receptionist approached Jing and politely asked if he was the martial artist gentleman responsible for security. He introduced himself and said it was a pleasure to meet them. The man then explained the job details. This time, 6 martial artists had been hired, with each person responsible for a specific area. Jing was assigned to the stag area. The lighting there was poor, so he needed to stay extra alert. Jing took the floor plan and confidently said that with so many martial artists present, no one would dare cause trouble. The manager shook his head and said it was hard to say. Calling in more people was simply a way to prevent trouble before it happened. After that, he excused himself, saying he still had a lot to handle. Jing understood that hiring more people alone wasn't strange. But hiring 6 martial artists meant something serious was going on. And that wasn't all. They had also brought in a large number of bodyguards. From their equipment, Jing could tell they were all professionals. The number of surveillance cameras far exceeded what a normal hotel would have. When things were abnormal, there was always a reason behind it. That made him curious about what kind of incident had caused such a massive setup. The man in the white suit walked over and asked if Jing was the newly accepted direct disciple of the Hidden Dragon Dojo. Jing asked who he was. The man introduced himself as Li Jiaoquan from Tiger Soul Dojo and assured Jing that he wasn't looking for trouble. He said that since they were colleagues, it wasn't excessive to understand each other's level beforehand. Jing asked how he planned to do that. Jiaoquan suggested crossing hands, a common way for martial artists to probe each other's strength. Jing immediately understood. The man thought he was young and didn't trust his ability. At the same time, Jing saw this as a good chance to find out where he stood among them. Yu Gang suddenly spotted Jing and froze. He asked why Jing was here. A woman walked over and asked if he knew that handsome guy. Then someone else entered and said he voted for Jing. They recognized him. It was Pei Xiao. The woman standing beside Yu Gang whispered that Zhao Quan was extremely fierce. She said that the last time second young master Yu Gang crossed hands with him, he was squeezed until he screamed. That incident had embarrassed Yu Gang badly. Another woman pointed out that there seemed to be no movement from the handsome guy's side, so she thought Zhao Quan wouldn't lose. Jing calmly clarified that it wasn't that there was no movement, it was just that ordinary people couldn't see it. Only then did they realize something was off. Jing looked thin and weak on the surface, but his body had been tempered countless times. It was already as hard as steel. His ki was clean and pure, far beyond anything Zhao Quan could compare to. Xiao told Yu Gang to wait until the contest was over. After that, he wanted Yu Gang to introduce him to the young hero. Yu Gang quickly agreed. Deep down, Yu Gang felt shaken. He couldn't understand how Jing had become this strong. It felt impossible. Zhao Quan, on the other hand, sensed that Jing had almost no visible ki at all. That made him smirk. He took it as proof that the kid was just a rookie. He told Jing to pack his bedding and go home early. Jing could feel that Zhao Quan's strength was indeed impressive. It was clear he had trained bitterly for a very long time. However, Compared to Jing, it was still lacking. Jing stood there calmly and even smiled. Zhaoquan suddenly felt something was wrong. Jing's force surged without warning, becoming overwhelmingly strong. Panic flashed through Zhaoquan's mind. He could no longer suppress it. He struggled desperately. Then, without warning, his wrist snapped. Jing was stunned. The sound alone told him this was bad. Zhaoquan slowly pulled back his limp hand. Jing asked him if he was okay. Zhaoquan laughed, straightened his back, and said he was fine. He admitted that Jing was strong and said he was worthy of being a high-level disciple of the Hidden Dragon Dojo. He sounded genuinely impressed. He then said he needed to use the restroom and hurried off. Once he was inside with no one around, he cried. The pain in his hand was unbearable. Crouching in the corner, he cradled his wrist and wondered what kind of monster he had just encountered. Jing frowned. He wondered if Zhaoquan was really okay. He had clearly heard the sound of something breaking. Just then, Yugang called out to him. Jing turned around. He was surprised to see Yugang waving enthusiastically at him, at the stage area. Jing finally confirmed that Yugang really was a rich young master. All this time, he had thought the guy was bluffing. Yugang laughed and said Jing must be joking. Then he explained that he was actually the child of his father and a mistress. If his eldest brother didn't look after him, he wouldn't be living so comfortably. Jing asked what he needed him for. Yugang hesitated, then admitted that Jing had been amazing during the hand crossing earlier. Now, his eldest brother wanted to get to know him. He added that his brother was a genius who had entered Inner Ring University through the martial arts exam. Xiao was standing on the stage, so Jing asked if he was talking about him. Yugang nodded and added that there were also some young ladies and wealthy madams who wanted to get to know Jing as well. He asked when Jing would be free. Jing sighed. He said he couldn't do it because he still had work later. He didn't mind introductions, though. Then he added that if they truly wanted to make friends with him, they should come find him themselves. If someone wanted something, they should fight for it, not wait for it to be delivered to their doorstep. With that, Jing left to return to his duties. Yugang watched him go, completely charmed. He suddenly felt that Jing was incredibly handsome. After hearing what Jing said, the girls immediately gathered their courage. If they wanted something, they would have to fight for it themselves. A blonde woman stepped forward and asked to exchange contact information with him. Others quickly followed. While Jing was distracted, a delivery man quietly walked past behind him. Jing noticed him only after he had already passed. He frowned. The manager hadn't mentioned anyone bringing deliveries inside. Jing was about to call out when the blonde woman grabbed his arm and insisted on exchanging contacts. She smiled and said she would teach him many things, then winked at him. Jing felt overwhelmed. Cornered by the crowd, he reluctantly exchanged numbers with them. At the same time, the suspicious man pressed a switch. A red light activated. Jing's phone suddenly glitched. He instantly realized something was wrong, and it wasn't just his phone. Without warning, the lights went out. At first, people thought it was a simple power outage. Panic spread when they realized even their phone flashlights didn't work. Their batteries drained instantly. They found it strange that none of the phones would light up. Someone suggested that everyone's battery might have run out. But deep down, Jing knew his phone had been fully charged. And in this kind of darkness, with dozens of people present, not a single person had managed to turn on a phone for light. That meant no one could. On top of that, all the lights had gone out at the same time. Jing suspected that any equipment related to electricity had completely failed. This could only be caused by an electromagnetic pulse, a high-tech method capable of instantly disabling electronic devices. He couldn't help wondering why the opponent would use something like this. If the goal was just to kill someone, this felt like excessive effort. Suddenly, the windows shattered. The blonde woman screamed and clung tightly to Jing. In the banquet area, the sound of breaking glass echoed. Trying to calm everyone down, someone said it might have just been the wind, or that someone knocked something over in the dark. Their phones still wouldn't work. Another person started calling out for old Wang, saying he had been right beside him a moment ago. Yugang managed to light a lighter. Xiao immediately sensed that something was wrong. He ordered everyone not to move and told them to gather together, back to back. They followed his instructions. Then they noticed something move. While everyone's attention was drawn elsewhere, one person was taken away. When they realized what had happened, President Zhang was gone. Bloodstains were left behind. The formation instantly collapsed as people panicked and ran in all directions. Xiao stayed calm and shouted that it would be even more dangerous to run around blindly. Suddenly, something flew past him. The next moment, his cheek was grazed and blood began to flow, but when he looked ahead, there was nothing there. He sensed an attack coming straight at him and struck first before it could reach him. The blow landed and blasted the attacker away, but he was still caught off guard. Yugang shoved him aside to save him. Someone else took the hit instead. That person lost their upper body, and the remaining half sprayed blood everywhere. It was done by a massive insect. Xiao and Yugang were horrified by the sight. They shouted for everyone to run, but it was already too late. There was no exit. At that moment, Jing arrived and struck the monster. He asked what that thing was. The massive insect slammed into the ground. Green blood sprayed from its mouth. It was the same creature as the cockroach man. Jing felt relieved. All the effort he had put in recently hadn't been wasted. Otherwise, there was no way he could have knocked it flying so easily. The people who witnessed it were stunned. He had casually kicked that monster straight into the wall. Some of them hurriedly looked around for the other dojo bodyguards, but they were already gone. They had run away long ago. Yugang thanked Jing for saving his brother. Jing told him not to get close yet. That thing wasn't dead. The monster suddenly lunged at him. Jing sensed that its vitality was far more stubborn than last time. Had it evolved and grown stronger? He decided to test it first. If he couldn't handle it, he would retreat. He wasn't about to risk his life for that amount of money. He drove his elbow into its back. The creature was hurled across the room. A shadow flame ignited at the center of Jing's eyes. Now, it wasn't just the monster that could move freely in the dark. After that strike, the scene in front of him became clearer. He was using shadow flame dark vision. The skill had a night vision effect. The panel hadn't explained it clearly. Otherwise, he would have used it much earlier. In the darkness, they moved with ease. Zhao Quan stared in disbelief. Jing was actually fighting that monster to a standstill. But Xiao shook his head. On the surface, Jing seemed to dodge at just the right moments. But if one looked carefully, Jing hadn't retreated even a single step. Only then did Zhao Quan realize the truth. Jing was protecting them. Zhao Quan suggested that everyone leave. Staying there would only distract Jing and force him to worry about their safety. The others agreed. They could call the police and get help outside. Jing watched them exit and felt relieved. Now, he could finally let loose. He looked at the monster and said it seemed to be enjoying itself earlier, so he would keep it company. The creature flapped its wings. Then it charged at him. Jing was caught off guard. The monster still had a hidden trick. Its speed had increased dramatically. The monster hesitated when Jing suddenly vanished. In response, it released a thick, dark mist. Jing was startled. He had no idea what was happening. In front of him appeared a revolving lantern, replaying fragments of his memories. For a moment, he even wondered if he had died at the hands of a mere cockroach man. But that made no sense. After spending so much money learning martial arts, there was no way he could lose to something like this. Something had clearly gone wrong. He felt himself fall, and his head hit something hard. When he turned his head, he saw a familiar dragon. At the same time, the monster slammed into his torso, but it froze. A powerful force had formed in front of Jing's chest. When Jing opened his eyes again, they were different. His pupils looked like they were burning, and black-red smoke slowly seeped out. He decided to return the monster's attack. He used the hidden dragon-style killing move, Cloud Sealing Tail. The moment it landed, the monster's upper body was blown apart. Only the lower half remained, and blood sprayed everywhere. Jing felt like he had just realized something incredible. But then he noticed something else. It wasn't actually dead. He wasn't too surprised. It was a mutated creature, and at its core, it was still a cockroach. Even without a head, cockroaches could survive for 8 or 9 days. He remembered that its true weakness was the ganglion beneath the esophagus. He reached in and pulled out the ganglion. Looking at its size, he wondered if ordinary cockroaches really had something that big. He nearly threw up. Yugang cautiously asked if it was over. They saw that the monster had finally stopped moving. Someone announced that Jing had killed it. Another person immediately asked which dojo he came from and shouted that he was willing to sponsor him with 1 million. Someone else raised it to 2 million and even urged Yugang to introduce them to Jing. The man in the red beanie showed up again and teased Zhao Quan, saying he admired him for daring to provoke someone like that. Zhao Quan was red with embarrassment and told him to stop. Deep down, Zhao Quan felt nothing but relief. The young hero hadn't even used 1% of his strength when they crossed hands earlier. Thankfully, Jing had shown mercy and hadn't crippled him on the spot. Jing urged everyone to take this chance to leave as quickly as possible. He had a strong feeling that this matter wasn't that simple. Yugang finally noticed Jing's injuries and was shocked. A man walked up to Jing and asked what he meant by those words. Jing looked at him and asked who he was. The man introduced himself as Ye Chenglin, the host of the banquet. He asked if Jing was implying that the incident hadn't been an accident. Jing nodded. Based on what he had observed, this wasn't a normal blackout. It was an electromagnetic pulse, and it had been man-made. As for the monster, it was likely released on purpose, with the intention of killing everyone present. Chenglin's expression darkened. He said this had to be an organized and premeditated assassination targeting them. Furious, he swore that he would have his father investigate everything thoroughly. Privately, Jing felt something was off. They had installed an excessive number of surveillance cameras and hired so many martial artists, clearly anticipating danger, yet they still insisted on holding the banquet here. To him, the problem lay with them. He also noticed that the guests able to attend this banquet were far from ordinary. That made him wonder why someone would want them all dead. He could tell that Chenglin was definitely hiding something. Jing told everyone that although the monster had been killed, the danger was not over. He urged them to leave as quickly and calmly as possible. Staff members guided everyone to walk slowly and avoid pushing. Anyone who had a lighter was encouraged to use it to light the way. As they moved, Chenglin leaned closer and quietly asked Jing if he knew what that monster was. Jing replied that he was only a bodyguard. He would do his best to protect everyone's safety, but he didn't know anything beyond that. At that moment, Jing realized he was being tested, and he understood that the waters here ran far deeper than he had imagined. Jing was chilling in the hotel lobby. He checked his status panel while the others were busy calling their families to come pick them up. They wanted to go home immediately and never come back to that hotel. The system notified him that he had just experienced an intense death match, stimulating his body's potential and earning him plus 1,027 fitness experience. In his head, the harvest this time wasn't bad. He kept receiving notifications, plus 829 health preservation, plus 538 running, plus 55 charm, and plus 518 aiming. He also gained plus 1,539 fighting experience, plus 1,347 sports, and plus 121 visualization, all because he had vividly imagined a true dragon sweeping across a sea of clouds. His fitness advanced to level 7, 135 out of 4,500. Health preservation rose to level 5, 298 out of 2,000. Running reached level 6, 359 out of 3,000. Fighting climbed to level 6, 324 out of 3,000. Visualization increased to level 4, 748 out of 1,200. Jing was pleased. 4-digit experience gains weren't easy to come by, and he had finally met the specialization conditions. He had a cut on his chest, and to his surprise, it was healing. He paused, confused, then realized his status had fully recovered after leveling up. The system notified him that he had met all requirements and could convert basic force delivery into special force delivery. He wondered if this condition came from his understanding of the cloud ceiling tale. He also wondered whether this special force delivery was connected to the martial arts of the hidden dragon style. He decided not to overthink it. No matter how he looked at it, special force delivery sounded stronger than the basic version. After clicking yes, the system confirmed the specialization. Force delivery reached level 6, 2,080 over 3,000. A total of 6,880 experience points was converted into hidden dragon force, now at level 4, 1,880 over 4,000. At the same time, a strange sensation spread through his body. It felt as if rusted parts inside him had been freshly oiled. Jin force flowed through his body with a smoothness he had never experienced before. This kind of opportunity was rare. So he struck while the iron was hot and began practicing the tremor armor technique again, right there in the lobby. Meanwhile, the medics arrived, and Xiao guided them toward the injured. He first explained what had happened on the 17th floor banquet hall. He was about to say more, but he froze. Jing was cultivating in the lobby. That night at the Hidden Dragon Dojo, Jing thanked Shan Ying for offering to apply medicine to his chest. She asked how he ended up injured when it was supposed to be a simple bodyguard commission, yet such a terrifying monster had appeared. She sighed and said he was really unlucky. The master arrived and explained that dojo commissions were always about living on the knife's edge. Accidents were unavoidable. Since his master was knowledgeable and experienced, Jing asked if he knew the origin of that monster. Li replied that he didn't know the details either. He only knew that the creature was most likely connected to the borderlands. Jing wondered if the borderlands were the naturally occurring rifts mentioned in the data that appeared after the god died. He couldn't help feeling curious about what exactly existed inside those rifts. His master advised him not to dwell on it. Being able to survive was already a great fortune. Moreover, it was a blessing in disguise that Jing had comprehended his dragon style's killing move. cloud-sealing tail. For a martial artist, tempering oneself between life and death was the best teacher. Jing clarified that he seemed to have grasped the essence of the hidden dragon style. The master was so shocked that he jumped out of his wheelchair and walked straight toward him. Jing was startled. Li began inspecting Jing's body. What he found shocked him so badly that he staggered backward and fell. He asked Jing if he had raised a dragon. Jing was completely confused. Even Shanying felt like they're speaking in riddles. Li burst into laughter, clearly delighted by what he'd discovered. He explained that to conceal a true dragon capable of overturning clouds and sky, one must first raise a fledgling dragon within the body. And Jing had already raised a dragon inside his physical body. Jing and Shanying helped him up. Jing said that after the dragon appeared, his Jin force circulation became much smoother. He asked if there were other uses. Li replied that the dragon was not an illusory intent, but a strand of true dragon force with its own spirituality. He explained that practicing martial arts was no longer just about training techniques, but about feeding the dragon within the body. That was the true essence of the hidden dragon style. And Jing had already obtained the key to breaking his limits. Shanying asked what that meant. Li explained that the human body has limits. Once the 5 major trainings, skin, flesh, tendons, bones, and blood, are perfected, one can advance no further. At that point, breaking the limit is required, which means sublimating one's life level. Remolding the physical body was the most important foundation. Although one would still appear human, the essence of life would no longer be human. Those who completed this sublimation of life were called earthly immortals by Taoists and living Buddhas by Buddhists. As long as no accidents occurred, they could live for at least 150 years, maintaining their body at its peak condition until death. Jing realized that his master's legs were likely the so-called accident. Li told him not to worry, since he had already completed a critical step among them. The risk of failure had been greatly reduced. What remained was only steady, grinding effort. Jing thanked his master. Shanying said she had heard her senior brother mention that Li was once a powerful figure who had leaped over the dragon gate. She asked why he had still grown old. Li answered with a grim expression. The dragon he had raised was killed by someone. The news shocked both of them. He explained that back then, he lived in the North District. Relying on his exceptional martial strength, he acted far too recklessly and did not understand the immensity of heaven and earth. Every day, he engaged in martial duels alongside Boshang. As a result, he offended many people. When those enemies realized they could not defeat him directly, they targeted Boshang's wife and daughter instead. Blinded by rage, he thought only of revenge. Countless people tried to stop him, but he felt no fear. He killed them one after another as they came. For a time, he truly believed he was invincible. But retribution soon followed. A powerful individual shattered his legs and destroyed the true dragon in his heart. His spirit collapsed, and he became half-crippled. After that, countless people kicked him while he was down. Only Boshang was still willing to stand by his side. Later, in order to avoid their enemies and protect Qingjiao, they left the North District in disgrace. That was when they came here and opened the Hidden Dragon Dojo. Jing asked if he ever wanted revenge. Li admitted that he still had some lingering regrets. However, his enemies were major figures from the North District, not small fry that could be dealt with easily. In the end, he told Jing not to worry about it. It was all old history, already in the past. And if one day Jing could legitimately enter the inner ring, it would not be too late to speak of it again. Later that night, Jing was on his way home. His phone buzzed with a notification. 80,000 Juxia currency had been transferred to his savings card ending in 366. His current balance was now 88,011.03 yuan. He hadn't expected the money to arrive so quickly. He couldn't help commenting that the hotel's efficiency was impressive. He entered his home and announced to Fengna that he was back. There was no response. He realized she wasn't there, or maybe she was taking a shower again. He activated visualization. Scenes of her activities throughout the day appeared in his mind. She seemed to be having quite a bit of fun. Then he saw her climbing out through the window. Jing immediately looked out the window himself. In the distance, he spotted 3 figures. 2 men were cornering a cat. His heart sank. She was in danger. Fengna spoke to the men, asking why they had come to find her when they had already run away. They replied that it was because her crown, the infinite dragon, Anantashesha, had responded to them. She hadn't expected that at all. The men addressed her as sect leader, saying that with her outstanding aptitude, she could definitely become a recipient. When that time came, they could use the power of the main sect to rebuild everything. One of the men raised a hand, stopping the other from stepping closer. It was clear that Fengna was unwilling. She froze when she saw Jing. She asked why he was there. Jing asked the same thing in return. After hearing their conversation, he quickly realized that these men were members of her sect. One of the men asked if she wasn't afraid that Kant's security company would discover the boy's existence. The mention of Kant's security company immediately made her tense. Of course, Jing couldn't pretend he hadn't heard that. The man hurriedly explained that if the sect leader continued staying at the boy's home and Kant's security company found out, it would definitely drag him into trouble as well. Fengna felt a wave of sadness. Jing wondered if she truly wanted to leave. Still, Kant's security company was indeed an extraordinary existence. After the god died, the world briefly fell into chaos. The authorities lacked the power to maintain order, so they outsourced part of their law enforcement authority to various security companies, allowing them to build and develop their own armed forces. Kant's security company was one of them. Unlike the others, it expanded at an alarming speed, quickly becoming a behemoth with deep roots. Now, it was already beyond control. Originally, Fengna, after turning into a cat, had been hidden there well enough. But now that people from the dragon sect had tracked her down, the risk of exposure had greatly increased. But if Kant's security company really came, Jing wasn't afraid. Jing told the man that Fengna would not be going back. Fengna was deeply moved. The man asked Jing if he truly believed he could protect the sect leader. Jing replied that nothing had happened yet, so they wouldn't know the outcome without trying. The man scoffed and said Jing had no idea how terrifying Kant's security company was. Someone like him wouldn't last. Sending even a random squad would be enough to end him. Fengna shouted for them to stop. She said that if they hadn't come here in the first place, none of this trouble would have happened at all. She said she never wanted to be any dragon sect leader in the first place. It was all that dead old man acting on his own, forcing the title on her and treating her as some chosen heir. If they wanted to receive some so-called endowment, they could go take it themselves and stop coming to her. She was already out of breath from all the shouting. She added that if anything really happened, she knew Jing would protect her. She turned to him and asked if that was right. He answered yes. Then the two of them turned and headed back. The man clicked his tongue. Meanwhile, on the other side, at the location of the Great Sky Lodging Insect Mother, Kaiping's master remarked that he hadn't expected number 1 to be beaten to death by a 17-year-old high school student. Even when Cheng Xuan was 17, it would have been difficult for him to defeat number 1. This made him wonder if there truly existed a genius even stronger than Cheng Xuan. Kaiping replied that the situations were different. When his little senior brother was 17, he had only been practicing martial arts for a short time. Kaiping suspected that the person in the news had likely been secretly cultivated by the Hidden Dragon Dojo for many years, only to shock the world with a single feat. His master told him to forget about it. It didn't really matter. Although the expected outcome wasn't achieved, at least several people had died, which would serve as a warning to the governing council. He tossed the phone to Kaiping, who answered the call. Then the master asked about the situation with number 9. Kaiping reported that it had devoured number 7 last night as well. It had only been born for 10 days, yet its growth rate was terrifyingly fast. The master concluded that number 9 was currently the most cost-effective perfect specimen. All future feeding and production would be centered on number 9. He also instructed Kaiping to find an opportunity to let number 9 go out and make an appearance. He already knew that the high school student mentioned in the news came from Qingcheng-affiliated high school. That school was Qingcheng's top high school. He said that if an incident occurred there, it would greatly increase public support for that bill. Kaiping felt a chill run through him, but he still answered yes. It was a bright, sunny day. Jing was busy practicing martial arts to grow stronger and, one day, to solve all problems. Even if he couldn't solve the problems themselves, he could at least solve the people causing them. As he practiced, he envisioned himself destroying the Kant security company. The system notified him that he had completed a tremor armor technique cultivation. His fitness experience increased by plus 331. At the same time, when he activated visualization, the cultivation effect was greatly enhanced. Shaking Starfire, one of the 5 great killing moves of the Hidden Dragon style, was a defense-breaking technique that drove activated Jin force directly into the enemy's body. Because of this skill, Jing could shatter even copper walls and iron bastions. Naturally, he wanted to master it thoroughly. Suddenly, Fu Guang announced that Jing had struck it rich. Jing asked how. Fu Guang explained that when Jing killed the monster at Ruizhu Hotel yesterday, he had saved a group of second-generation rich kids. Because of that, the Hidden Dragon Dojo received a flood of donations, all from those rich second generations. The master had decided that every cent of it would be counted as Jing's remuneration. The total amount came to 22 million. Jing's eyes sparkled when he heard the number. He even imagined himself lying on piles of cash. He remarked that the wealthy and powerful really knew how to conduct themselves. Fu Guang then told him that the master said Jing was now so rich that he shouldn't practice martial arts as recklessly as before. After that, Fu Guang handed him the plan the old man had prepared. It listed his daily intake: 1 perfect tonic soup, 1 kidney nourishing soup, 1 essence nourishing soup, 1 heart nourishing soup, 1 spirit nourishing soup, 4 inhalable supplements, 2 body nourishing medicinal baths, and 8 essence liquids. The daily cost totaled 208,000. Jing laughed and said it wasn't much since he had over 20 million in hand. Fu Guang suggested he turn to the next page. It stated that Jing needed to take 1 key-condensing heart-nourishing pill every week, costing 800,000. There was also an injectable steam sauna medicinal bath he had to undergo twice, costing around 1,230,000. On top of that, he needed a tendon opening massage once every 2 weeks, priced at 1,800,000, and a session in the high-pressure stone chamber once a month, which cost 2 million. Jing's body trembled. Fu Guang told him to prepare to say goodbye to his 20 million. Only then did Jing realize he was a poor scholar after all. Fu Guang then showed him something else on his phone. Jing was on the front page of the Qingcheng Morning Post. Someone had leaked the incident of him killing the monster yesterday to the media, and now he had become the hero of Qingcheng. Suddenly, Jing's phone rang. It was an unknown number. Jing answered the call, and what he heard made his face turn pale. The person on the other end of the line was yelling at Jing for not showing up to class for so long. He was scolded for being too bold, skipping classes to do part-time work, becoming a so-called hero, and still not coming back to school. Jing argued that something had happened at home. Since the school sports meet was starting in a few days, his teacher decided to sign him up. He was assigned to run the 100 meters, 200 meters, 400 meters, 800 meters, and 2,000 meters. In short, his teacher wanted him to represent the class. Then, out of nowhere, Shan Ying suddenly waved at him. Because of that, Jing told his teacher that he had something urgent to deal with and would hang up first. His teacher reminded him to show up when the time came. Jing then asked his 6th senior sister if she had been looking for him. She told him there was a commission specifically designated for him, and the pay was very high. That immediately caught his interest. She explained that the client was also a martial artist. After watching the news, the client had become curious about Jing and wanted to cross hands with him. The pay was 500,000. Jing's eyes lit up. 500,000, just to be a sparring partner. The next day, inside the inner ring, North District. The North District was where most high-ranking government officials lived. People called them the Northern Nobles. It was said that a random person there could earn in just a few minutes what an outer ring household made in a whole year. He thought that sounded exaggerated. Then Jing arrived. Just sparring and exchanging a few blows paid 500,000. That was insane. Still, rich people didn't think the same way as ordinary folks. To them, that amount probably meant nothing. The house was massive, big enough to rival half a school. That was when he noticed something. Standing at the front door, Yu Gang was waving at him and Xiao. He wondered what those 2 brothers were doing here. He asked if they had sent the commission to their dojo. Xiao said he misunderstood. Someone wanted to meet him, and they went through Xiao to arrange it. Jing shot Yu Gang a sharp look. Yu Gang immediately explained that it wasn't his idea. His dad ordered him to do it, and he didn't dare refuse. Jing asked suspiciously if it was his dad who wanted to cross hands with him. Yu Gang said no. Someone else had asked his father for help. He looked frustrated, like even he didn't fully understand it. Xiao suggested explaining things while they walked. He said the person came from an official organization. As for which one, he honestly had no idea. His dad only told them one thing: do everything they could to satisfy this man. At last night's banquet, that man personally asked him to arrange a meeting with Jing. Xiao asked if Jing really had no clue. Jing said no. He wondered who would go through so much trouble just to see him. His first guess was Kant's security company. Before Xiao opened the door, he warned Jing that even though he was strong, he should stay alert, because the man inside might be stronger than anyone Jing had met so far. The man was huge, with a thick build and dreadlocks. He looked middle-aged. He introduced himself as Mandrill. Jing could tell right away, this man was no ordinary person. He greeted him politely and noticed the scars between his thumb and palm, along with bullet holes in his shoulder. Those weren't marks a normal person would have. They were the marks of a soldier. Someone used to kill. Mandrill smiled and said he wanted to be friends immediately. and in his mind, the best way to make friends was to fight. He jumped from his seat and charged at Jing, and the chairs and table beside him exploded on the spot. Jing clenched his fist. For a moment, he wondered if this man really came from that security company. If he did, Jing would take him down. They collided at the center, fist to fist. The impact was so violent that Yu Gang's knees almost gave out. Mandrill expected the kid's hand to be shattered, but Jing was completely fine. He calmly said it was his turn now. Mandrill froze, unable to understand how that was possible. Jing activated Cloud Ceiling Tail. He slipped behind Mandrill and slammed both elbows into his back. The blow sent Mandrill flying, embedding him halfway into the cliff. Xiao was stunned. He said that if he had taken Mandrill's punch head-on, his entire arm would have been ruined. Yet Jing wasn't just unharmed. He had countered instantly. Yu Gang stared in disbelief, wondering just how much strength Jing was still hiding. Jing judged Mandrill to be nothing more than an ordinary rich second-generation heir. Mandrill slowly stood up, his entire body trembling. He laughed and said the punch felt amazing. He asked why Jing was staring at him like that. Then he told Jing to keep hitting him. Jing thought the man was ridiculous. But at the same time, something felt off. The cloud ceiling strike that had blown apart that cockroach man earlier had barely affected him. The feeling was familiar. It reminded him of Zhu Yingkun. So Jing asked if he was augmented. Mandrill looked surprised. He didn't expect someone from the outer ring to even know about that. He explained that his skin had been fitted with a B1 protective membrane, an entry-level military augmentation. Its shock absorption was extremely strong, especially effective against a martial artist's Jin force. He asked Jing if he was tempted, if he wanted one installed too. Jing said he wasn't interested. Mandrill scoffed. He said he had met 1 or 2 people who answered like that before. That was why so many martial artists refused to accept reality. Then he charged again, shouting for Jing to wake up, because times had changed. When he got close, Mandrill clapped his hands together. The vibration made Jing's ears ring violently. Mandrill explained that his hands had been modified to emit special sound waves on impact, causing intense dizziness. Dodging was useless. The closer Jing was, the stronger the sound waves became. Mandrill confidently declared that the winner of this match would be him. But then, Jing placed a single hand on Mandrill's chest and forced him to stop dead. Mandrill stared at him in shock and asked, "How was that possible?" Jing suddenly closed the distance and drove a heavy punch straight into Mandrill's chest. The impact boomed as golden energy exploded outward, cracking the ground beneath Mandrill's feet. Since Mandrill's skin membranes were tough, Jing simply poured the Jin force directly into his body. Pain ripped through Mandrill from head to toe. Jing calmly stated that knocking someone out didn't require much strength. A light strike was more than enough. The speaker embedded in Mandrill's chest announced that his consciousness had been cut off. From the sound of it, Jing supposedly wasn't a match for him. Jing froze. A communicator was installed in his body. He asked who they were and what they wanted with him. The voice replied that he should wait, because they were on the way. Jing told them to hurry up. He was very busy. The voice assured him they wouldn't keep him waiting long. Xiao rushed over, demanding to know what the hell they wanted. Yu Gang guessed it was some kind of rookie test run by a mysterious organization. Jing told him his imagination was running wild. Yu Gang insisted it really did look like that. Mandrill heard them and struggled to hold back his laughter. Jing told him to get up if he was already awake. That was when Mandrill groaned, saying it really hurt. He asked how Jing broke his move earlier. Jing explained that the core of his sonic wave technique was shocking the brain, so all he had to do was use stronger force to cancel it out. Mandrill realized then that this kid still hadn't used his full strength. He told the 2 brothers to walk around somewhere else. He admitted the Pei brothers were right. He was a member of an official organization, and he wanted Jing to join them. Jing bluntly stated he had no interest in joining any so-called secret organization, especially after meeting him. If it was a legitimate group, they should have invited him openly instead of playing games and testing him. He said he was very dissatisfied with the organization's style and had no desire to join at all. Internally, though, he knew it wouldn't have mattered even if they had asked properly. He was content with his current life, peacefully practicing martial arts, farming safely, and occasionally doing containment tasks to level up his divine skills. It was comfortable. Almost suspiciously comfortable. Mandrill panicked slightly and told him not to rush his refusal. He admitted his methods were a bit reckless, but joining them would bring benefits with no downsides. First was the protective membrane, something no amount of money could buy. If Jing joined, he could get one for free. Jing shot back that even with it, Mandrill still got injured. Mandrill said Jing was a genius, but sooner or later, he would discover the limits of the human body. That wall, the point where you can't move forward, would drive him insane. Jing agreed, then he refused again. He said it sounded more fun to use his original body to crush those modified humans. Mandrill's patience snapped. This kid simply wasn't listening to reason. The speaker suddenly blared, telling Mandrill to shut up and stating bluntly that his recruitment skills were absolutely terrible. Mandrill froze in surprise when he heard the captain's voice. The captain told him to look up. A figure was falling straight down from the sky. Jing activated his aim skill and immediately recognized her. It was Void Blade. Both of them shielded their eyes as she landed, smoke and debris bursting outward on impact. She greeted Jing and assumed he still remembered her as the captain of White Squad 838. She then casually explained that the gorilla beside him was one of her squad members. Jing leaned in and whispered, asking why she was trying to rope him in when she was the one who introduced him to Yu Qing in the first place. She replied that this time, the order came from above. And besides recruitment, she had a second mission. She asked if he knew the origin of the monster he had killed a few days ago. Jing said he only knew it was a Borderlands creature, nothing more. She nodded, agreeing that it did show Borderlands characteristics, such as possessing a core. The core is the power source of Borderlands creatures, but it doesn't have to be located in the heart. It could be in the limbs, nails, or even the skin. As long as the core remains intact, they can resurrect indefinitely. Jing felt relieved that he had accidentally destroyed it back then. Pure blind luck. Since it had a core organ, he asked why she said it wasn't exactly the same. She projected a holographic image of the sky-lodging insect mother, a creature from Borderlands F056, also known as Carrion Lake. Its danger level assessment reached as high as 6.2. Jing asked what this danger level meant and what 6.2 represented. She asked in return whether the Outer Ring dojos didn't even teach basic classification. Voidblade asked the gorilla to send over his combat data from earlier. Mandrill muttered that he wasn't a gorilla, then tapped the side of his forehead, producing a soft beep. She received the data and saw that Jing's current danger level assessment had already reached between 2.9 and 3.1. A normal adult male has a danger level between 1 and 1.1. Jing's 2.9 meant he was equivalent to 1,280 normal men, and the sky-lodging insect mother was equivalent to 65,000 of him. Jing admitted that was dangerous enough. She added that this was only an extreme case. An unawakened sky-lodging insect mother had a danger level of just 1.8, and its primary function was reproduction. The sky-lodging insect mother can absorb the genetic information of whatever it eats and give birth to corresponding insect species. It can even consume different creatures and fuse their genes together. 1 month ago, a smuggling ring captured a sky-lodging insect mother from Carrion Lake and smuggled it out. After receiving the intel, they chased the smugglers all the way to Qingcheng's southern district, then lost their trail. And now, through Jing, they finally had a lead. Jing asked if the cockroach monster he killed was something born from the sky-lodging insect mother. She confirmed that he was correct, and since the monster was a cockroach man, Jing realized it had been created by fusing a cockroach with a human. The thought sent a chill straight down his spine. Voidblade knew he had already realized that the cockroach man's strength had been increasing non-stop. She suspected that whoever was controlling the sky-lodging insect mother was constantly refining it, and that Jing, who had ruined their plans more than once, had already become a target. Jing understood. Then, he asked if the invitation was meant to protect him. She said no. He was only 17, but his talent was exceptional. More importantly, he had the courage to face Borderlands creatures head on. The White Raven Squad was backed by an agency with the most professional and advanced training system in all of Jusia. They could fully unlock his potential in every aspect, without blind spots. Jing knew her pitch sounded perfect. Unfortunately, he already possessed a training system that surpassed everything else from the very beginning, so he refused. Voidblade could only sigh. She could roughly understand his way of thinking. She then offered a compromise. Jing could become external personnel for the White Raven Squad. When needed, they would issue commissions, and he would receive corresponding rewards. Mandrill, listening from the side, was completely stunned. Jing grew suspicious. The conditions were far too generous. He asked whether their agency possessed any god relics. She answered yes. One of their internal research divisions was the God Relic Research Institute, which housed many god relics. As long as he accumulated enough merit, obtaining one wouldn't be difficult. His eyes immediately lit up. He agreed on the spot. With exaggerated enthusiasm, he claimed he had been a fan of the White Raven Squad for 10 years, and that becoming external personnel had always been his dream. They shook hands, sealing the deal. After that, Jing got into the car and headed home. Mandrill asked the captain if all of this was really necessary. Jing was just a martial arts genius, rare, but not unheard of. Void Blade replied that Jing was far from simple. Yesterday, she had contacted the eldest miss of the Wu family again. The importance she placed on Jing was far beyond what Mandrill could imagine. Mandrill asked if she meant Wu Yu King, the natural recipient. He couldn't believe it. Yu Qing had always searched for a way to remove her recipient status. She once said that only a god could fight another god. Aside from god relics, Jing was the only thing she truly cared about. Because of that, Void Blade suspected he possessed some special quality they had yet to uncover. Even if they didn't know what made him special, she said, they had to secure him first. It was already sunset by the time Jing headed back. During the ride, he looked out the window, quietly sightseeing. Even the most prosperous districts couldn't compare to a single street in the North District. Suddenly, he received a message from Yu Qing, asking him to come to the library when he had time. He replied that he'd be there soon. He told the driver to head to the Qingqing Library instead. Before long, he arrived on the 7th floor. She told him to sit. The moment he did, he took a sip of the drink in front of him. It was awful. He told the boss to prepare something better next time. He wondered how much this woman truly loved that sweet water kettle. She asked if he didn't like the tea brewed from water produced by his favorite god relic. He suggested having a Coke instead. She said she already knew the White Raven squad had contacted him. He replied that they invited him to join White Raven, but he had refused. She said he'd made the right choice. He asked why. She explained that crows are often seen as ominous creatures, birds of disaster that herald death. White ravens, on the other hand, symbolize rebirth and mercy, bringing good fortune. The name carries beautiful wishes. The reason for choosing that name, however, was grim. The death rate in White Raven operations was extremely high. Since its establishment over 60 years ago, only 3 members had safely lived to retirement. Jing agreed it was truly dangerous. He mentally noted to be very careful about any White Raven work in the future. The resurrection effect of twin life only worked once within a short period. He then asked about the background of the agency itself. She explained that its full name was the Abnormal Disaster Emergency Management Special Agency. After the beginning of the new era, Juxia established this organization to deal with various abnormal disasters. It operated independently from the 5 major agencies and was often referred to as the 6th agency. If Jing joined White Raven, even if he went on a killing spree in Qingcheng or went completely insane and detonated a nuclear bomb, no one would have the authority to arrest him. He finally understood just how terrifying the 6th agency's power was. He asked whether the government wasn't worried about it going out of control. She said there was no need to worry. The agency had 13 high-level officials, and almost all of them lived in the Azure court. That meant the 6th agency was practically a country of its own. Jing realized just how wide its reach truly was. She then told him the main reason she had asked him to come was simply to remind him about the White Raven matter. Now that he understood their background, he was free to leave. He asked if she had any missions for him. She said no. He asked if she planned to show him any god relics. She said no again. He asked if that was really all. So she added that if he truly had nothing better to do, he could help sweep the library. That made him spring to his feet and hurriedly say goodbye. Suddenly his communicator rang. It was Du Shuwei. He had completely forgotten about it. He answered his teacher's call and said he would be there very soon. At the South District. Kai Ping's master sat on a rundown staircase, his expression bleak. A man with a rocker-like appearance reported that all the test subjects had been transferred. The master said he hadn't expected White Raven's nose to be so sharp that they would actually sniff out their location. He asked about Kai Ping's situation. The rocker replied that, following the master's instructions, Kai Ping had taken number 9 to Qing Li's affiliates. They were expecting news soon. Only by using number 9 as bait to draw White Raven's attention could they safely continue transferring the sky-lodging insect mother. Otherwise, that thing was far too conspicuous and would be exposed easily. The rocker added that the Kant company wasn't offering any help at all. They were forced to rely entirely on themselves. The master sneered, saying large companies were always like that. They only wanted to enjoy the results of others' labor without lifting a finger. If things failed, they lost nothing. And precisely because of that, it was now their turn to act the same way. His disciple said that if this succeeded, the Kant company might kill the donkey once it crossed the milestone. The master replied calmly that he had already considered that. He had prepared a backup plan long ago. If anything happened to them, the Kant company shouldn't expect to walk away unscathed either. Meanwhile, someone slipped into the school grounds. Through his eyes, the students were nothing but fresh flesh. If he could capture them all and offer them to the insect mother, it would earn him tremendous merit. He noticed the girls cheering excitedly for Jing. Following their line of sight, he saw a boy running across the field and wondered if that was Jing. In his imagination, Jing looked like an ordinary teenager. He doubted someone like that could defeat a test subject. But it didn't matter. Soon enough, things would get far more exciting. For now, he continued pretending to be a janitor. A student glanced at his well-built frame and wondered if he was new. The girls erupted in cheers when Jing won. Gay handed Jing a bottle of water and asked if he was really still not interested in girls. Jing answered simply that he wasn't. Then he asked how many events were left for the day. There were the 400-meter race, the 2,000-meter run, and the relay. He asked about the relay. Ji explained that it was also a running event, so the teacher had signed Jing up for that as well. He added quickly that he wouldn't drag him down. Suddenly, Jing sensed something wrong. He smelled blood. He activated his aim skill, and he saw it. The cockroach man inside the school, feeding on humans. The creature moving through the campus was like a tiger charging into a flock of sheep. Jing told Jay to call the police immediately and clearly report that a cockroach man had appeared in the school. Then he told him to run as far as possible and not look back. At the entrance of the teaching building, dismembered bodies were scattered everywhere. The cockroach man detected fresh meat. A female student was trembling in the corner. It slowly approached the helpless girl. She could only steel herself in despair. Someone suddenly rushed in. It was Jing. He slammed into the cockroach man, knocking it back. The creature rolled once and immediately sprang to its feet. Jing shouted for the student to get out of there. She thanked him repeatedly and ran without looking back. Jing decided to whittle it down first. He activated Twin Life and Twin Speed. He gathered all his power into a single point. He shattered its shell. Then he blasted it away, sending it crashing through several layers of walls. Someone staggered out from a nearby room. It was a janitor. He begged to be saved, stammering that he had completely lost control. Jing recognized him at once. It was Kaiping. Jing couldn't understand why he was here. Kaiping said he was from the Golden Wind Dojo and that he needed to find his master to deliver an urgent message. But the cockroach man returned, and it ignored Jing entirely. Kaiping was frozen in terror. Before he could make another sound, he was devoured. It happened in an instant. Jing realized that if not for Twin Life, that moment might have been the end for him. His killing move earlier hadn't actually finished it off. After consuming Kaiping, the monster turned toward Jing. He watched its wounds close at a terrifying speed. It let out a roar and charged. It was incredibly fast, but Jing barely managed to dodge at the last second. The creature spun around. As Jing evaded, a tentacle still grazed him. Something was clearly wrong. Compared to the cockroach man he fought at Ruiju Hotel, this one was bigger and tougher. The barbs on its hands and feet had grown larger, and even the antennae on its head had turned into lethal weapons. Jing suspected its genes had been further optimized. He could tell this fight was turning into a battle of attrition. He grabbed a nearby fire extinguisher and hurled it. The monster sliced through the cylinder. Compressed air blasted everywhere, obscuring its vision. Jing seized the opening and struck. He snatched up a piece of rebar and drove it straight through the monster's skull, making it hiss in agony. It spread its wings. Jing was shocked. It was still functional after that. Then it vanished. It began circling him at high speed, clearly trying to confuse him before launching a sneak attack. Jing hadn't expected it to be capable of tactical thinking. He closed his eyes and switched to visualization. Since he couldn't predict the angle of attack, he decided not to rely on sight at all. Using visualization, he traced its movement path, and then he found it. A familiar sensation surged through him. It was the same feeling he'd had when he comprehended the cloud-sealing tail. He activated a hidden dragon-style killing move, turning golden scales. Even as he did, he knew how dire the situation was. With such a massive disturbance at the school, the White Raven squad would arrive sooner or later. He chose to stall for time and hold on until they arrived. The school was destroyed. Voidblade hovered in the air, flying with her anti-gravity dragon wing augment. It had been less than 5 minutes, and the entire school was already in ruins. She realized Jing could be in serious danger. A helicopter flew overhead. Voidblade immediately warned it to dodge. A tornado had formed nearby. Mandrill reported to the captain that the teaching building had collapsed. He asked if they were still going down. Voidblade activated her skill. She spotted someone inside. On a closer look, it was Jing. The data synced instantly with the whole team. She decided to rescue Jing first. The rest of the squad would capture the sky-lodging insect mother's offspring, alive. Mandrill noticed her pulling out an augment made from dragon bone and wondered why she brought such insane equipment to a mission like this. She questioned whether the energy hurricane earlier was caused by the cockroach monster. She entered the building. She gently tapped Jing on the shoulder. He reacted violently, swinging at her, but she shouted that it was her. He froze. Relief washed over him when he realized who it was. Then it was like all his strength vanished. He collapsed, but she caught him. She gave him a fast-acting painkiller. He warned them not to lower their guard. The cockroach man was extremely strong. She noticed the strange markings on his neck. She told him not to worry. She didn't come alone this time. She brought the entire White Raven squad. They charged straight at the cockroach man. Mandrill felt proud of Jing for the foundation he had laid for them. A woman with a lollipop snapped at him to stop talking nonsense and to focus. The monster's thrust was coming. The cockroach man attacked. Mandrill thanked her for the warning as he lunged forward. Suddenly, the cockroach man coughed up blood. A deep slash had appeared on its side, cut by the long, black-haired woman. Voidblade called Mandrill an idiot, reminding him she'd already told him to strike from the correct angle. She told him to watch carefully. Dozens of daggers rose into the air around her as she rushed the monster. Then she brought them down in a relentless rain of blades. The cockroach man's body shattered like glass. She chopped it into pieces. Jing watched and muttered that they were real professionals. He saw how her blade pierced the weak points in the joints with perfect precision. Just a light cut was enough to make the entire cockroach monster collapse and shatter. That was when he truly realized she was on a completely different level. Despite having its limbs severed, the cockroach man was still alive. Voidblade ordered Chi-Yu to stop the bleeding. They couldn't let it die. They needed it alive to track down the sky-lodging insect mother. She then told Xiao Jing to write the mission report. While she was at it, she also instructed her to submit a request to the higher-ups for a tracking device. Mandrill walked up to Jing and asked why he looked so beaten up. Jing replied that he was lucky they arrived in time. Mandrill said that was a given. The moment the captain received the call, they immediately flew in by helicopter from the Southern District. He added that the level of importance the captain placed on Jing was extraordinary. Jing asked if they found anything in the Southern District. Mandrill replied that they had searched less than a third of the area, and for now, there were no results. Jing said he had some clues. Voidblade immediately wanted to hear them. He explained that he suspected the cockroach man had been brought into the school by a man named K-Ping. Jing said K-Ping was the leader of the local punks, and the fact that he appeared inside the school was already strange. On top of that, he had pretended to be a cleaner. It was hard not to think this was a setup. Voidblade said the information was extremely valuable and told Jing to report it to the higher-ups immediately. She was about to turn away. Then she noticed something wrong. Her expression changed as she urgently told Xiao Jing and Yu to retreat. The dismembered body began pulling itself back together. Yu froze in shock. She was hit head-on, while Xiao Jing barely escaped in time. The cockroach man took off as if nothing had happened. Mandrill thought it was hyper-regeneration, but Voidblade corrected him. It was molting. They saw that it was trying to escape, and that was something they couldn't allow. Jing borrowed a knife from her. She asked what he was planning to do. He activated Twin Life and Twin Speed. Then he hurled the blade at the escaping monster. Voidblade's jaw dropped at the sight. Mandrill couldn't believe what he'd just seen. Jing had thrown something with the force of a depleted uranium armor-piercing shell, using nothing but his own body. The cockroach man began to fall. Jing casually said it was thanks to Voidblade's knife being good. That answer irritated her. The knife cost over 10 million. Jing, on the other hand, was thinking about how he had also used Twin Life, yet was still helpless against the cockroach monster. That was when he truly understood how important weapons were. His arm had turned purple. He also realized that using that move came with a heavy cost. Voidblade told him to return with them so they could send him back to the Hidden Dragon Dojo first. Other matters could wait. Jing agreed. Simply circulating energy wouldn't heal injuries like this. He still needed the help of his senior brothers and sisters. The thought made him sigh. He already knew he would get scolded again. The helicopter lifted off. They talked about losing another member. Xiaojing asked the captain if she wanted to report to the higher-ups and request additional reinforcements. Voidblade replied that there was no need. She said that if a few more people died, the squad's casualty rate would spike and her year-end evaluation would drop. Jing overheard the conversation and felt uncomfortable with their calm attitude toward death. He knew he could never get used to it, not even if he lived another lifetime. The system notifications kept coming. Because he experienced a deathmatch, his body's potential had been stimulated, granting plus 1,367 fitness experience. During the same fight, he landed the final blow, secured the kill, and felt an intense rush, increasing his health preservation experience by plus 939. He also delivered a perfect strike, pushing precision to its limit, raising his aiming experience by plus 1,211. His aiming advanced to level 6 with 198 out of 3,000 points. Hidden Dragon Force rose to level 5 with 232 over 5,500 points. Visualization advanced to level 5 with 121 over 2,000 points. He realized the truth. This kind of growth was painful, yet strangely satisfying. The helicopter flew onward. Jing's aiming had leveled up, so he expected his vision to improve. While in the air, he looked down and clearly saw the cars below. He found it ridiculous that his eyesight was now better than binoculars. If he combined this with Hidden Dragon Force, accurately striking a target from kilometers away was no longer just a fantasy. Next time he faced a monster like the Cockroach Man, he wouldn't need to get close at all. His survival odds had increased dramatically. Results soon came in from the southern city side. The investigation team used instruments and confirmed that the pollution rate there had already exceeded 10%. Jing had no idea what a pollution rate meant. She looked at him in disbelief and asked if he truly knew nothing. She questioned what they even taught in the outer ring. She used a simple metaphor. Her left hand represented the world they currently lived in. Her right hand represented the other world. When the two worlds collided or overlapped, pollution was created. If it was only a slight brush, an impact would occur, and the pollution rate usually stayed between 1% and 5%. But once a true overlap happened, the pollution rate would rapidly spike to around 10% to 30%. At the same time, the physical laws of the area would begin to change. Creatures from the other world could even cross into reality. Jing asked if that was how borderlands were formed. She shook her head. Borderlands were created only when the pollution rate reached 100%. They were neither reality nor the other world. To define such a place, humanity gave it a new name. They called it a subworld. An overlap could occur in Southern City at any time, so she warned him not to go there casually. Jing understood. He eventually returned to the dojo where Shan Ying immediately scolded him. She said he never gave anyone peace of mind. Every time he came back, he was covered in injuries. Even Qingjiao was angry. They applied medicine all over his body. Shan Ying warned him that if he pulled something like this again, they wouldn't take care of him anymore. Jing tried to explain that it wasn't intentional, that he was forced into the situation. She didn't believe him. She smacked him and he hurriedly told her to go easy. She insisted that he needed to remember the pain. His entire arm had turned purple, and she didn't know how long it would take to recover. He explained that he didn't want to get injured either, but there was no other choice. In that situation, he was the only one who could stand up and fight the cockroach monster. Shan Ying pressed her elbows into his back, making him beg her to be gentler. She told him to endure it. This was the only way she could infuse the medicinal power into his body using qi. But her chest ended up pressed against his face. He quickly turned his head away to avoid it. Compared to Shan Ying, he felt that Qingjiao's control of qi was far more refined. The medicinal paste slowly soaked into his skin. Not only did it not hurt, it actually felt comfortable, until he sensed something off. The master walked into the room and froze. Qingjiao was on top of Jing, her chest pressed against his lower back, while Shan Ying was still driving her elbows into him. Both girls immediately flushed with embarrassment. The master had already heard that Jing had successfully cultivated golden scales. For him to still be injured this badly, he couldn't imagine how powerful the monster must have been. Jing asked if he knew about the Golden Wind Dojo. Li nodded. He was familiar with it. Its master, Jiao Hongyuan, had exchanged pointers with him when he was young. Back then, the Golden Wind Dojo claimed their cultivation method could turn fists and feet into blades and swords. The phrase, unarmed is equivalent to armed, had piqued his curiosity, so he found an opportunity to challenge them. Jing was shocked to hear that he fought more than one opponent. Lai explained that when their disciples saw their master being beaten, they naturally rushed in to help. Unfortunately, their internal power was insufficient. They couldn't break his golden scales skin and were knocked down one by one with single punches. However, he admitted that the school did have real substance. If Jing ever faced them, even if the opponent appeared unarmed, he had to treat them as if they were holding a blade. That said, Li knew it wouldn't matter much for Jing. The Hidden Dragon Style's Golden Scales skin perfectly countered the Golden Wind Dojo's Golden Wind White Rainbow Sword. At the same level, they wouldn't be able to break his defense at all. And if the opponent's cultivation surpassed his, then caution alone wouldn't save him anyway. Jing suddenly realized that He Ying had used a god relic to enhance her defense earlier, which was why Kai Ping couldn't injure her. It made him wonder, what rank would Kai Ping actually be considered within the Golden Wind Dojo? Moments later, Shan Ying told him to turn over. Since his back was done, it was time to treat the front. Qingjiao prepared to continue the treatment. The master immediately retreated, saying that healing through exercise consumed a great deal of stamina. Our boy knew something's fishy. Jing suggested that he could handle it himself. She asked what nonsense he was talking about. They told him that what he needed most right now was to relax and leave everything to them. That made him blush. Jing might have no interest in romance, but he was still at an awkward stage of growth, and situations like this naturally made him uncomfortable. He closed his eyes and focused on martial arts techniques instead. Shanying giggled when she noticed how stiff he became. Their hands moved methodically as they applied the medicine, and the warmth spreading through his body made him feel much better. He only felt slightly uneasy when a fingertip brushed close to his waist, so he opened his eyes and saw Qingjiao leaning very close as she worked. It felt like an unexpected test of his composure. Shan Ying noticed his reaction. Qingjiao noticed it as well. Her cheeks flushed red in embarrassment. Jing hurriedly explained that it wasn't intentional and that his body was simply reacting on its own. He apologized. Xianying said that in his current state they couldn't continue the treatment. Embarrassed, he insisted that he would finish the rest himself. They agreed and left the room. He wasn't sure whether any of it had been intentional or not. 1 hour later. After circulating his power for a long time, the skin all over his body still felt numb, itchy, and painful. Only then did he realize how seriously injured he had been this time. In the end, it all came down to not fully understanding the skill. The so-called golden scales transformation used Jin force to link the skin membranes of the entire body together, dispersing and neutralizing incoming attacks. By spreading the force across the full surface of the skin, the pressure at any single point was drastically reduced. Now, he finally understood the secret behind the golden scales skin's matchless defense. He also understood why his master said it perfectly countered the golden wind white rainbow sword. That technique relied on blade-like Jin force with extremely small points of contact. Against a defense that dispersed pressure, such attacks were naturally rendered ineffective. As expected of one of the Hidden Dragon style's killing moves, not a single technique was simple. The ones he had yet to comprehend were the blood-tempering Shaking Star Fire and the tendon-training Eye-Piercing Current. But he wasn't in a hurry. Right now, healing came first. Jing arrived home. Fengna noticed him the moment he walked in. She waved at him and asked why he was back so late. Then she casually asked if he had brought anything good to eat. Jing froze when he saw her. She was human again. He found it strange because, according to the library records, returning to human form required a specific method. She explained that earlier at noon, she suddenly realized she could transform back on her own. But she said she would be leaving soon, so she decided to stay and keep him company for a while. He asked why she was leaving and whether she felt uncomfortable staying there. She said that remaining by his side would only bring him danger, from Kant's security company, the Dragon Sect, and possibly other threats she didn't even know about yet. She held his hand and said that during the days she stayed with him, she had been happy every single day. She felt carefree, like a real cat, eating, drinking, playing, and sleeping, never having to think about complicated matters at all. But she was still the sect leader of the Dragon Sect, and she knew it was time for her to leave. The tears gathering at the corners of her eyes didn't escape Jing's notice. He pulled her into a hug. He said that if he abandoned her simply because she brought danger, then he would be nothing but trash. He told her to stay. No matter what danger lay ahead, he intended to face it together with her. She asked if she could really stay. The moment she heard his answer, her face lit up with joy, and she clung tightly to him. The system notified him that someone had developed a large amount of favorability toward him, causing his charm technique experience to increase continuously. At first, it was only plus 668 experience, but another notification quickly followed with plus 784. A third window appeared soon after, granting plus 851 charm technique experience. His charm technique advanced to level 7, reaching 131 over 4,500 points. Jing was stunned. Normally, when girls looked at him, the increase was only a few dozen at most. That was when he realized something. He grew serious and told her that he needed to discuss something important. Curious, she listened carefully. Through their conversation, she learned that whenever her emotions intensified, it deepened the fusion progress with the cattail ring, pushing it toward the state known as reincarnating as Bastet. Then he added that it wasn't just any emotion. It had to be the same kind she felt during their first fusion in the bathtub last time. That revelation shocked her. Her face flushed and she became cautious. She asked what he was planning to do. He quickly clarified that it wasn't about what he wanted. It depended entirely on what she wanted. She instinctively scooted away from him. Jing hurried to explain that he was only asking whether she wanted to try actively receiving the power. She asked what he meant. He explained that all known individuals who had incarnated as Bastet showed no abnormalities. They had simply gained strength. Since they were already making enemies of a major organization like Khan Security Company, they needed as many safeguards as possible. She was surprised by how seriously he had thought this through. She asked if the information about the cattail ring was reliable. Jing replied that he didn't believe the source had any reason to lie to him. She suddenly pushed him down and said they should try it immediately. Jing panicked and told her to wait. She clarified that he shouldn't misunderstand. She just believed that more power meant more security. Jing told her she didn't need to explain. He understood. She asked how they should proceed. He suggested recreating the conditions from that day. She blushed, but after a moment, she nodded. They went to the tub together and carefully recreated their positions from before. The sensation was intense enough that she tightly grabbed his hand. When everything settled, Jing wondered if it was over. The cattail ring began to glow. He reached out and touched it, absorbing the divinity within. That was when he realized that promoting the fusion between the cat and the cattail ring actually produced divinity that could be absorbed. Thinking about it more carefully, it made sense. Strengthening the fusion meant extracting the power that belonged to the foreign god Bastet sealed inside the cattail ring. His divinity absorption rose to 33/500. A foreign god was still a god, so naturally it possessed divinity as well. She said she felt a little stronger. He felt it too. With his current constitution, even if an ordinary person used a knife, they might not be able to leave a wound on him. He mentioned that when she had scratched his arm earlier, it had torn open, but now it only left faint marks. She apologized immediately. He asked if the enhancement was limited to her physical body. He encouraged her to sense it again and see if any other abilities had awakened. At this point, his divinity absorption had already climbed to 102/500. He silently hoped the absorption rate would increase even faster. She raised her hand and revealed her claws. According to her, the technique was called Serpent Slaying Vanguard. The wild cat war goddess Bastet carried many titles, and one of them was Serpent Slayer. She had slain the chaos serpent Apep, gaining the authority to restrain anything related to snakes. His curiosity was instantly piqued. Then she calmly pointed out that dragons and snakes looked almost the same, and she added that his hidden dragon style also fell within her range of restraint. She reached out and touched his scales. Jing couldn't believe it. He had practiced a technique related to dragons and somehow gave himself a built-in debuff. He quickly clarified that it couldn't be right. The technique was only called hidden dragon style. It wasn't an actual dragon. He asked if that still counted as being countered. She proudly said that this was how god-level abilities worked. They didn't need to be reasonable. Even techniques with dragon in their name fell within her restraint range. Jing thought it was completely ridiculous, but then another thought struck him. With this ability, she could torment the dragon sect however she wanted. She realized he was right. She didn't have to listen to them anymore. If they dared to come looking for her again, she would make sure they had a memorable experience. A wicked smile spread across her face as she laughed. Jing pinched her cheeks and told her to stop. Then he told her to leave future problems for the future. After that, they went to bed. She returned to her cat form and slept quietly beside him. Jing had only promoted the fusion of the cattail ring once, yet he had obtained an astonishing amount of divine substance. In total, he gained 309 units, equivalent to an entire gold relic. And only then did he truly understand what divine substance was. If divine substance was the source of a god relic's power, then logically, any relic drained of it should lose its strength. But in reality, the god relics he absorbed divine substance from showed no change at all. Unable to make sense of it, he decided not to dwell on it and focused on upgrading his skills instead. Twin Life advanced to level 3, requiring 9/500 divine substance for the upgrade. Its passive effect granted 2 lives. After death, he could freely choose a resurrection time within 7 days. The cooldown dropped from 80 days to 70 days. Just as he expected, each level reduced the cooldown by 10 days. It made him wonder, if he reached level 10, would resurrection become infinite? The system then presented him with a choice: physical defense, reaction speed, calculation ability, concentration, or memory. He paused, unsure which passive effect to select. 3 days later, at the Hidden Dragon Dojo, he focused on enhancing his physical defense. When he threw a punch, the impact rippled outward in visible waves. 3 days ago, he had chosen to strengthen his physical defense. While reaction speed was also tempting, the upper limits of the Hidden Dragon Style's 5 great killing moves were almost entirely tied to the body's endurance. He attempted to use a hidden dragon-style technique infused with Jin force. If martial arts were mathematics, then the coordination of movements and force was like assembling complex formulas. And twin life didn't alter the formula. It was simply added on top. The final power doubled. Rolling wind and thunder was already a punch that could explode with double power. After reinforcing his physical defense and stacking the twin life effect, it became borderline invincible. When he unleashed it, the force carved marks through the air and shattered the ground beneath him. Shannying called out to him. Someone was looking for him. Her tone made it clear she wasn't happy about it. It was Void Blade. She said she'd something to tell him. He didn't expect her to show up in person. Shannying questioned him about who she was, but he couldn't explain. Void Blade interrupted, asking if he was done chatting. Her time, she said, was precious. Shannying snapped back, yelling that if she had something to say, she should just say it and stop acting mysterious. Void Blade replied calmly that only Jing could hear this. That answer only made Shannying more annoyed. Void Blade then suggested they talk somewhere without people. Seeing Shanning's reaction, Jing knew this wasn't going to end well. Once outside, he asked what was so urgent that she had to come herself. She told him to relax. She was only there to pass along a message. He immediately thought of Yu King. Judging by her expression, his guess wasn't wrong. Void Blade projected a hologram of a young woman. She introduced her as Otogi Suzuka, the third heir of the Otogi clan, one of the Far East's 6 great Zaibatsu. The blade in her hand was a god relic. God 519, the unbreakable blade. Its ability was simple and absolute, indestructible. The idea of the strongest spear meeting the strongest shield felt almost too perfect to be real. Void Blade noticed his doubt. Among all known god relics, there was no such thing as an unshatterable shield capable of countering it. Someone had once used a special method to expose God 519 directly to temperatures exceeding 10 million degrees. The blade had remained completely unharmed. He asked if this was a new containment mission. She shook her head. God 519 wasn't out of control, so containment wasn't required. He asked what he was supposed to do. Void Blade relayed Yu King's exact words. This wasn't about what she needed him to do, but whether he was willing to do it himself. Only then did he understand. Yu King wanted him to take it. Otogi Suzuka came to Juxia to participate in the U19 Unlimited Fighting Tournament. Under normal circumstances, making a move against him would spark a serious diplomatic incident. But now, the situation was different. God 519 has a unique trait. It chooses its master. If the person wielding God 519 is defeated by another, ownership automatically transfers to the victor. And they knew Jing liked relics. That was why they nudged him forward, encouraging him to take it with his own hands. All he had to do was defeat him in the fighting tournament. Once he won, God 519 would be his. Meanwhile, at the Southern City Pier, a man reported to his master that their little junior brother had been stealing the spotlight in Fengcheng. With crushing victories in 12 preliminary matches, the Golden Wind Dojo's reputation had spread rapidly. The master scoffed, saying that after winning just a few matches, his disciple was already getting carried away. He lacked steadiness, enough to become a laughingstock. Another disciple spoke up, claiming that their little junior brother was a prodigy sent by heaven, and that a bit of arrogance wasn't necessarily a bad thing. Hong Yuan asked whether White Raven was still biting down hard on the matter. The disciple replied that he had silenced everyone involved, leaving White Raven with no way to dig deeper. Still, he couldn't help but feel regret that Kai Ping had become a casualty. Hong Yuan said that he too regretted Kai Ping's death, but it was only a small setback on the road to success. What mattered was moving forward. Bijing asked what would happen to their little junior brother. Hong Yuan answered that the path he was meant to walk was different from theirs. He added that he didn't intend to reveal any of their plans to Cheng Xuan. With the finals approaching, there was no need to distract him. Bijing nodded, saying that he understood. Back to our MC, Jing was dumbfounded. He had only informed the master that he was going to participate in the U19 Unlimited Fighting Tournament, and yet all of them had followed him. Fengna, Shanying, Qingjia, and Li were all there. Shanying explained that it was too dangerous for a boy to be out on his own. As his senior sisters, it was their duty to protect him properly. Jing immediately asked who, exactly, was the dangerous one among them. He then turned to Fengna and asked for her reason. With a hint of sarcasm, he wondered if she was also there to protect him. Fengna blushed before explaining that they still had to persist with the matter of fusing with Bastet. He asked if she was addicted to it. She instantly broke into a sweat, but firmly answered no. Shanying noticed how close his relationship with the cat had become, pointing out that he even brought it along for the competition. Deep down, Fengna wanted to say that she simply wanted to stay with him and that Shanying should mind her own business. Shanying then remarked that it must be hard to train with the cat around and suggested leaving it at the hotel. Fengna immediately threatened that if he did that, she would run away from home. Jing was completely speechless. In the end, he could only say that everyone could come along. Inside the dojo, someone was giving a lecture. It was Shanying. She warned Jing that with his current strength, there was absolutely no way he could defeat Otogi Suzuka. Jing asked what level she thought he was at right now. She replied that he was probably around level 3. He then asked if this level system was something specific to Fengcheng. She proudly said that she had invented it herself. Jing stared at her, unable to believe it. She insisted that her judgment was backed by solid evidence. Suzuka entered the sect at 10 years old, became the head disciple in just 5 short years, and 3 years later, earned a title in the martial arts world. His strength was comparable to their eldest senior brother. Shanying asked Jing if he thought he could defeat the eldest senior brother. Although Jing hadn't been in the sect for long, he knew there was still a huge gap between himself and the eldest senior brother. And if the two of them were to fight, he knew he would most likely suffer a crushing defeat. Shanying was pleased that he had this level of self-awareness, but that wasn't the main point she wanted to make. The U-19 Unlimited Fighting Tournament is the only fighting competition in the world that allows the use of weapons. A weapon's strength can heavily influence the outcome of a match. Likewise, a contestant's overall strength is closely tied to their proficiency with their weapon. She asked him that if he had to choose a weapon that suited him best, which one would he pick? He replied that he wouldn't choose any. He only believed in his fists. She then asked whether he would still cling to that belief if she told him that Suzuka, while wielding a weapon, was as strong as 9 eldest senior brothers. That made him hesitate. She wrote 3 words on the board: wielding a juxi sword. Even though she had never personally fought the eldest senior brother, she knew he had long mastered all the killing moves of the hidden dragon style. Even if Jing trained his golden scales to the extreme, it would still be difficult for him to block a full power strike, and if 9 of them attacked at once, there would only be one outcome: total defeat. That was when Shanying presented a savior and told him to look. It was wrapped in black cloth. Jing immediately sensed it was a good blade. Shanying asked how he knew it was a blade. He said it told him itself. As he unwrapped it, he struggled to describe the feeling. It was as if the weapon was calling out to him, whispering, "I want to be used by you." Shanying smiled, clearly satisfied. She said that since she hadn't given him anything since he joined the sect, this blade would be her gift. Jing asked how much it was worth. She explained that the main material was dragonbone steel, forged together with star iron stone, moonlight thread, and blood amber. On top of that, the forger was Master Hejuxi. Altogether, it was worth around 20 million. She brushed it off, saying it wasn't that expensive, but Jing knew the truth. It was worth his entire net worth. He accepted the blade. Although he now had a weapon, swinging it still felt awkward. He wondered if it was like in games where you could use a weapon perfectly the moment you picked it up. Suddenly, he sensed danger. Something flew toward him. Instinctively, he raised the blade and blocked it. It was the Master. Jing immediately asked if there were any techniques related to weapon usage in the hidden dragon style. Li explained that top-tier martial arts were all interconnected. As he spoke, he poured the tea from his cup onto the ground. Moves that could be executed with fists and feet could also be executed with weapons. Jing was stunned when he saw the tea water drill a hole straight through the floor. The Master reminded him that the competition was approaching fast and that he needed to learn a powerful killing move. Without warning, Jing's consciousness was pulled elsewhere. He saw the Master wielding a blade. Jing found himself surrounded by countless swords, one clutched tightly in his own hand. At the same time, cuts bloomed all over his body. He looked down at himself. His fingers were severed. Fear surged through him. Then he noticed the corpses piled beneath his feet. The vision forced him to breathe heavily. His expression twisted, clearly shaken. The Master's voice echoed, asking him how it felt. Only then did Jing understand. What he was feeling was killing intent. Lai explained that the Asura blade intent is formed by pushing the QE of motion to its absolute limit. When mastered, it can affect others without physical contact, relying purely on spiritual consciousness. Jing asked if there was any scientific explanation behind it. Li replied that their hidden dragon style could summon a dragon at will, so scientific logic had already left the conversation. Since Jing wanted to learn weapons, Li offered to teach him the Asura blade intent. Even without the proper physique or killing techniques, simply swinging a blade with that intent was no small feat. They started immediately. Jing said sparring with him felt like overkill. Li asked what he was thinking and told him that Qingjiao would accompany him. He was instructed not to think about techniques or forms. All he had to do was attack Qing Jiao with genuine killing intent. If the opponent was her, he would not hesitate to hold back. He swung his sword at her, but she dodged cleanly. She countered with a sharp karate chop, but he slipped away in time. Then he tightened his grip on the sword. The master told them to do it again. Li observed closely and realized Jing also had talent with weapons. At this pace, 1 week would be more than enough, maybe even 4 days. That was his estimate before a disciple suddenly rushed toward him. The disciple reported that someone claiming to be from the Golden Wind Dojo had forced their way in and appeared to be looking for trouble. Before he could finish, someone shoved him aside. A junior disciple from the Golden Wind Dojo stepped forward and challenged Jing to a fight to the death. Jing asked who he was. The man introduced himself as Li Chengshuan, a direct disciple of the Golden Wind Dojo. He declared that if he won, Jing would have to answer one question. Jing recalled seeing his name on the participant list Yu Qing had given him. That was when he realized this dojo was connected to the Cockroach Men. Li allowed Jing to exchange a few moves with him. He told Jing not to worry. This was still his master's territory. Jing told Chengshuan that he accepted. Bai Jing already knew Jing. He was the one who had killed number 1 and number 9. He warned Chengshuan that his opponent was strong and told him to be careful. Chengshuan waved it off, saying he had seen plenty of people who looked strong on the outside but were weak on the inside. Chengshuan told Jing that since he was older, Jing should call him Brother Li. He leaned in and whispered that Jing should relax. This big brother would hold back. After all, this was Jing's turf, and it wouldn't be good for him to lose too much face. Jing could only sigh. He told him that he talked too much. He stabbed his blade into the ground and vanished. Chengshuan froze in confusion. Jing appeared behind him, about to strike, but Chengshuan acted as if he had expected it. He shaped his hand like a blade. Jing clenched his fist and punched. Their fists collided head-on. Chengshuan was forced backward. His eyes lit up when he realized Jing wasn't simple at all. Jing acknowledged it internally. The Golden Wind White Rainbow Sword truly lived up to its reputation. His fist was bleeding. It felt strange. This was his first real fight against a martial artist. All his past enemies had been cyborgs or cockroach monsters. He was glad to finally face a proper opponent. Chengshuan charged forward. He swung his blade-like arms at Jing. Jing blocked with his reinforced forearm. The strike barely scratched his dragon scales. Chengshuan stared in shock when he saw the golden-scaled skin. Jing was only 17. He demanded to know how Jing had cultivated that level already. Jing answered by punching him and telling him to shut up. While airborne, Jing unleashed a flurry of punches. Fengna looked impressed. Shanying was stunned by how much Jing had grown. Jing wondered if cultivating the Golden Wind Rainbow Sword also strengthened the body. Anyone else would have collapsed after 2 or 3 hits, yet Chengshuan endured dozens, like a man made of steel, barely budging. Then Jing spotted an opening. He activated Twin Life. Just as he was about to land the blow, someone shouted for them to stop. Jing was startled, but he immediately pulled back. Hong Yuan stepped forward and said it was only a match. There was no need to kill. Chengshuan was already injured. Jing asked if something was wrong with these people from the Golden Wind Dojo. One barged in uninvited and tried to fight him to the death. Then the other suddenly said it was only a spar and told him not to go for the kill. So Jing suggested they go back, talk it over properly, and come back later. Hong Yuan glared at him. Then Master Qi burst out laughing. He clearly liked the guts his disciple was showing. Then he told Hong Yuan that his disciple had a point. They were the ones who came causing trouble, yet they were also the ones asking for peace. That was a bit unreasonable. Hong Yuan turned his glare toward Chengshuan, who was sweating like he had just run 10 miles. He could only sigh. Then he answered Qi. He said he heard Jing would also be competing in the U-19 Unlimited Fighting Tournament. So instead, he suggested they exchange a few blows. Shanying instantly got triggered. She asked what he meant. Their dojo started the trouble, and now they wanted to lay hands on her junior brother. Qi raised a hand and stopped her. Qi then asked Jing what he thought. Jing thought about it carefully. Crossing blades with this old man could help him grasp the essence of the golden, white, rainbow sword. But he stayed cautious. Something about this man felt off. Our MC then remembered the thing that Master Qi said earlier. They were standing inside his master's territory. Jing glanced around and realized his master and the others were all there. That eased his mind a little. He grabbed his sword and told the senior to enlighten him. Then Jing moved first. Hong Yuan calmly sidestepped and avoided the sword. But he watched Jing closely. He noticed Jing's neck was open, so he immediately aimed for it. In his mind, Jing was still just a kid who had much to learn. But at that exact moment, Jing suddenly pivoted his sword. He aimed for Hong Yuan's neck, too. Hong Yuan dodged, but not perfectly. The edge of the blade grazed his nose and drew blood. Hong Yuan's eyes narrowed. This kid actually had real talent with weapons, which meant one thing. He needed to capture him and feed him to the insect mother. Right then, the system suddenly notified Jing that he had unlocked a new skill, Weapon Combat Level 128/300. Jing felt excited. He had figured it out. Fighting professionals really did help him level up. After just one exchange, he had already unlocked a new skill. So he told the senior they should go again. But Hong Yuan declined since he still had to take his worthless disciple back for treatment. Unfortunately for him, this would not be the last time their paths crossed. Since that was the case, Jing told Cheng Xuan he would see him in the ring, and next time, he warned him not to underestimate his opponent. Qingyan commented that Jing was being too nice by even giving him a way out. Jing simply replied that he was only telling the truth. He explained that at that moment, Cheng Xuan's ki had not fully gathered yet. It looked like he blocked the strike, but in reality he took a heavy hit. After that, he could do little more than defend. Jing knew Cheng Xuan's true strength went far beyond that. The master then told Qing Jiao to hand him a sword. Jing had been becoming more and more receptive lately, so the master decided it was time to push him a little further. Qing Jiao stepped forward and offered the sword. The moment Master Qi grabbed it, our boy froze in shock as he felt like he was just cut 1,000 times. The familiar Asura sword intent surged again. His hands began to tremble. A fierce desire rose inside him. He wanted to comprehend that terrifying sword intent, but he also understood something important. To grasp it, he needed the resolve to die. So Jing attacked his own master. Their swords collided. His master immediately pushed back. The two remained locked in a clash of blades for 3 full minutes. Watching from the side, Shanying started to wonder what in the world they were doing. Then Fu Guang suddenly appeared and calmly explained that the two were slaughtering each other in the spiritual world. He said that to counter killing intent, one must release an even stronger and purer intent. With the resolve to kill the opponent, the blade will naturally move forward without hesitation, unstoppable and filled with boundless power. That was the Asura sword intent. And their junior brother had already learned it. At that moment, the system notified Jing that he had gained weapon combat experience plus 88 from the training. He also gained plus 38 Hidden Dragon Force experience, plus 73 Fitness experience, another plus 66 Hidden Dragon Force experience, and his visualization reached 688/2000 at level 5. And just like that, his Asura sword intent reached level 1. The others could not help but feel excited. They all wanted to see just how far a genius like him could go. Meanwhile, Hong Yuan scolded Cheng Xuan for stirring up trouble right before the tournament. Even he had personally shown courtesy to the Dragon King, yet Cheng Xuan still dared to storm into his dojo like that. Cheng Xuan broke down and said he already knew what happened to his senior brother, Kai Ping. Hong Yuan was taken aback. Cheng Xuan said Kai Ping had always treated him extremely well, and yet Kai Ping died so mysteriously. Because of that, Cheng Xuan could not pretend nothing had happened. So he asked why Kai Ping died at Jing's school. He just wanted to know the truth about what happened between them. That was why he went to confront Jing and demand a clear explanation. Hong Yuan let out a quiet sigh. He gently patted the boy's head and told him that if he won the championship at the U19 Unlimited Fighting Tournament, then he would tell him the whole truth. Cheng Xuan quietly wiped the tears from his eyes. Hours later, Jing went into a forest. He brought to mind the images of Cheng Xuan, the cockroachman, and Hong Yuan. When he opened his eyes, he swung his sword as if he were cutting them down, but in reality, it was only falling leaves. The system notified him that while practicing his sword technique, he had gained an epiphany about the true Asura sword intent. He earned plus 667 weapon combat experience, plus 689 visualization, and his weapon combat was promoted to level 3 with 290/800 experience. Jing didn't expect to gain so much experience outside of real combat. Now he finally understood how amazing epiphanies were. If he could have a few epiphanies every day, he wouldn't even need to go outside and cause trouble. If he just locked himself inside and trained for a few years, he might become completely invincible. But there was one problem. The Asura sword intent was far too extreme. An Asura born for slaughter holds the power to massacre everything, but lacks the freedom not to kill. Jing didn't want to end up pointing his blade at the people he cared about someday. With visualization, he believed he could slowly modify the Asura sword intent in the future. Just then, his phone rang. He wondered who was looking for him so early. He was told to come sign a contract. At the U-19 building, a woman named Jiang Siwei greeted him. From that moment on, she would handle all his affairs and arrangements for the U-19 fighting tournament. She guided him through the procedures. The hallway walls were covered in extravagant displays, which made Jing curious about what they were. She explained that the portraits on the walls were the champions from past U-19 fighting tournaments. Jing suddenly stopped in front of one portrait. It was the 19th U-19 champion, Otogi Suzuka. He stared at the image intensely. Then he asked her if she knew anything about that person. She explained that the poster showed Otogi Suzuka, the third heir of the Otogi Zaibatsu and the orthodox successor of the Suhaya style. Hearing that made Jing curious about this Suhaya style. She pointed toward another portrait. It was the Far East martial god, Sakanue no Tamuramaro. The Otogi clan were his descendants. He was the founder of the Suhaya style, named after his sword, Suhayamaru. The Suhaya style was famous for its extreme speed. At its highest level, a practitioner could slash 1,000 times. Jing wondered if something like that truly existed, so he visualized 1,000 slashes in a single second, and it was unbelievably fast, but with his twin speed. Combined with his dynamic vision, Jing believed he could keep up with her rhythm. Jiang Siwei noticed the smile on his face. She assumed he was imagining how to defeat Otogi Suzuka. Deep down, she felt it was both pitiful and admirable for someone so young to set his sights on a genius like that. She told him that if he trained hard, it might not be impossible for him to become someone like her in the future. She encouraged him to keep working hard. Meanwhile, Jing quietly realized she had completely misunderstood what he was thinking. Since he entered the club through special channels, once he signed the contract, he would officially become a contestant. The monthly salary for an official contestant was 180,000 Nuaxia currency, along with employee benefits. Any prize money won during the tournament would also belong entirely to the contestant, while the U-19 enterprise would handle the taxes. Jing signed the contract while thinking these organizers were surprisingly generous for even paying contestants a salary. She told him that the rules for the U-19 tournament were different from other fighting tournaments. He should understand them in advance. Jing asked what was different. She explained that if he met an extremely strong opponent in a match and could not defeat them easily, he could choose to forfeit. However, forfeiting did not mean elimination, because the tournament had a resurrection match. As long as he survived until the end of the resurrection match, he would still earn the right to challenge for the championship. Jing briefly thought that if he forfeited early, he might be able to reach the finals without much effort, but he quickly dismissed the idea. If others had the same plan, they would just run into each other early in the resurrection match. While Jing was lost in thought, Siwei quietly admired his handsome face. In her mind, she had already decided to cultivate him into the strongest dark horse the tournament had ever seen. Jing asked her if that was everything for today. She replied yes. If there was anything he didn't understand later, he could contact her any time. Later that day at the beach. Jing walked along the shore, still lost in thought. He realized Suzuka was much stronger than he first imagined. Her speed alone was frightening, but her weapon skills were also top tier. If he wanted to defeat her, he would have to train much harder. As he walked past, he overheard a group of men inviting several women to hang out with them. They proudly revealed that they were dark horse contestants in the U-19 fighting tournament. If the women followed them, they promised to buy them anything they wanted in the future. Their behavior quickly became perverse. One of them even bragged that if he won the championship, the woman beside him would become the champion's wife and turn into a celebrity in Fengcheng. Jing frowned in disgust. He did not expect ordinary contestants to behave like this. Now he understood why Yu King refused to let him participate in the preliminaries. Suddenly a light burst from the woman who had been calmly sipping her drink. Jing immediately noticed something unusual about her. Jing recognized the woman immediately. She was the original owner's older cousin, Shui Wan. With her long black hair and polished appearance, she looked both pretty and elegant. She had always been cheerful and beautiful. Since childhood, she had been the school beauty, and her grades were always among the top. But in reality, she was far from as perfect as she looked on the surface. She loved staying in bed all day, often used sneaky tricks when playing games, and had absolutely terrible gambling etiquette. She even used Jing's name to bluff and trick people. And the most terrifying part about her was this. Whenever a crisis appeared, she always came up with some bizarre solution. Right then, a huge vine suddenly burst out of the sand and scared the men who were pestering her. The vines wrapped tightly around their arms and necks, and forced the two men to kiss each other. Then, Shui Wan casually took a photo. She said it was an important moment in both of their lives, so they really shouldn't be making such scared faces. The two brothers looked completely disgusted, which only made her burst out laughing. Jing then asked her what that thing was. She looked surprised to see him. She asked if he had come to Fengcheng. It had been a year since they last met, and he seemed taller now. Then she even asked if he had gotten plastic surgery on his face. She poked his muscles while laughing to herself. Jing grabbed her finger and told her that was enough. He only wanted to know what exactly that thing was that had just retreated into the ground. She immediately played dumb. Jing started getting annoyed that she could deny it so shamelessly. Then she asked what he was doing in Fengcheng. Back then, Jing had been worried his cousin would worry about him, so he never told her he had started practicing martial arts. Now, he simply answered that he was participating in a competition. She sarcastically said that his wings had grown strong now. He did not even bother discussing something as big as practicing martial arts with her sister anymore. Jing felt a little guilty. Xue Wan only sighed. She admitted she never expected him to walk the path of martial arts. In the future, she feared he would get into fights with people at the slightest disagreement, and that thought worried her. Jing told her that since he chose this path, he would have to face those things sooner or later. And besides, he reassured her that he was strong now. She said he was talking big when she didn't even know his real skills yet, so she wanted to test him personally. Jing asked how. She pointed toward the lighthouse and suggested they race there. Whoever arrived first would win. If Jing beat her, she promised she would never say another word about his martial arts practice. Jing thought it was just a running race, nothing difficult about that, so he agreed and told her not to regret it later. They both got into position, and she gave the signal. Jing instantly activated twin speed, but Wan didn't even move. Instead, a vine suddenly burst out of the sand right in Jing's path. Jing jumped over it. He had already expected her to play dirty, but that was only the beginning. More vines shot out of the ground. One of them almost hit him. While Jing was busy dodging, Wan quietly rushed ahead of him. Jing activated his special eye, and he spotted an opening. Wan noticed it too, just as she expected. He took the bait. She clapped her hands and confidently declared that the race was over. A massive vine suddenly erupted from the ground. Jing could only think one thing. This was way too exaggerated. At that point, he had no choice but to use some real skill. A dragon-shaped strike tore straight through the vines. Wan's eyes widened in shock. Jing dashed forward and reached the lighthouse. Wan whistled and admitted that the move he used just now was pretty impressive, but then she calmly announced that he still lost. Jing frowned and asked what kind of spell technique she was using. Wan shrugged and said it would be wonderful if she actually knew that herself. Then she suddenly revealed something strange. She said she had been chosen by the Lord of 1,000 Reds and 10,000 Beauties, and if one day she was no longer herself, would he still call her his sister? Jing frowned and asked what she was talking about. In Jing's mind, the Lord of 1,000 Reds and 10,000 Beauties sounded like some kind of foreign god. He began wondering if she had come into contact with a god relic. That would explain her strange abilities. But suddenly, Wan burst out laughing and said she was just kidding. Then she complained that Jing had come all the way to Fengcheng and still hadn't treated her to a meal. She said she wasn't picky. They could just grab something casual at the hotel he was staying in. Jing immediately replied that she should be the one treating him instead. That night, Fengna was in her human form. She was worried because Jing still hadn't come back. She even started wondering if he had gone out on a date with some pretty girl. Just then, she heard movement at the door. She rushed over and opened it, immediately nagging that it was already so late, and even if he brought chicken again, she wouldn't forgive him this time. Jing appeared, drunk, while supporting Wan, who was also drunk and barely standing. Wan squinted at the room and asked if this was his place. Jing nodded and casually said yes, then invited her to stay the night. Fengna's anger instantly exploded. She shouted Jing's name in a loud, stern voice. Thanks for watching, bros. If you enjoyed this update, make sure to drop a like and hit subscribe so you never miss the next chapter we upload here on Manhwa Updater. New episodes from the main Manhwa dealer channel will always land here every week, so stick around and stay updated. And hey, if you want more fire stories, check out the latest upload on the main channel right after this. As always, stay cool, stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next one.